We are operating in an environment which has a lot of competition. So a policy change can easily change the ideas.
Then, as we said in the context of India, there's the problem of keeping pace with the fast-developing impact of AI. Here, our fourth expert witness, just as our third, sees not only challenge, but also opportunity.
So AI is really transforming the way we look at our sectors, the way we interact with each other in the marketplace, and that is creating opportunities for all of us. So everything seems to be better oiled, moving faster with AI. So if we are to embrace this and use it to our advantage, I think we shall be going places. We indeed have reliable, fast internet access. Why? I think partly it's because we have seen a lot of investment by the government in this sector. So the government has done investments beyond just reaching our cities, but also reaching many of our major rural towns. And I think Kenya scores a big plus on that. And it's relatively affordable.
But in order to boost employment, Kenya must be able to draw on a stable political and economic foundation. The World Bank projects that Kenya's economy will grow by an average of nearly 5% over the next few years. But this is not quite fast enough to create jobs for its growing labour force.
But one thing that we need to remember is that for you to create jobs, you must grow. So for us, I think the issue is more of we have not reached as high enough growth that will be sufficient to start making a major change in the labor market. I believe that these opportunities are not necessarily more long-term, but could be short-term opportunities. And the BPO and outsourcing relies so much on what the government does. Because we are operating in an environment which has a lot of competition. So a policy change can easily change the ideas. The message I'll have for the country is how do we translate the jobs in the informal to be better? We can just make what we have slightly better by the right regulations put in place.
With that word of caution, we return to our question. Can Kenya answer the call for employment? Kenya has an educated population which is frustrated by the government's failure to create good quality jobs, a frustration that has been further fuelled by allegations of corruption. The government has made a bold bet on business process outsourcing, hoping to replicate the success of countries such as India. But the global economy is shifting rapidly. Artificial intelligence is transforming the very jobs Kenya hopes to attract, automating tasks that were once outsourced to people. The country needs structural stability, both in the government and the economy. And in order to create that, what it also urgently needs is to rebuild trust amongst its population. This inquiry was presented by me, Tanya Beckett, produced by Matt Tolson, researched by Evie Yabsley, the editor was Tom Bigwood, and the technical producer was Craig Boardman.
That was the inquiry from the BBC. I'm Saroja Coelho here on...
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team here at Information Radio. Thank you for joining us on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. It is mostly cloudy in the city of Winnipeg, minus 19, cloudy minus 19 in Brandon, and mainly clear in Thompson, minus 31. We're going to have sunshine across Winnipeg today. It's a little milder in western Manitoba than it is here, but all of us are going to be cooler today overall, and then into tomorrow, another warm day ahead with some snow coming. Thanks for joining us. Morning show's on until 8:37 a.m. Before I even say good morning to the whole team, I actually want to go right to our news department. News started developing it'll affect traffic. So Heather Wells is here with our early morning news update and headline. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes. Well, a big fire is how police describe it. It is at the Man Win Hotel on southbound on Main Street. And so north and southbound Main between Disraeli and Higgins are completely shut down. Police say that fire in the vacant hotel started around 4 o'clock this morning, but buses are on the scene. They're being used to keep others in the area warm while fire crews battle this blaze. Southbound Maine, police say, may reopen for the morning rush. That's tentative, but northbound Maine will be closed longer term. For now, it is all shut down, and police are asking drivers to avoid the area. That's Main Street, the 600 block of Main near Disraeli. And help is arriving for Pimicikamat Cree Nation. The northern community is still recovering after that power outage and catastrophic water leaks, frozen pipes. Plumbers and soldiers are on the ground now. We will take you there in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
And now to the rest of our team. So Heather Ball's obviously in our news department. Good morning, Abby Adeyemi, our senior tech behind the controls. Abby will cover weather on the show through the morning. Good morning, Corey Funk, who's directing the program. Corey covers your commute on InfoRad. And good morning to Mr. Darren Marash, our producer of YouTube. Say hello to him there if you're watching the show stream. In the first hour of Information Radio, we're going to hear from Desiree Scott, the Destroyer, such a great soccer player. She is taking a new position, though, on in Winnipeg as she returns to the city, so we'll hear from her. Also, we're going to hear more about what is happening in Iran. Things are very dire there, and as you hear, there could in fact be a public execution today. We're going to hear the very latest in a moment on World Report.
Today on Q.
Hey, I'm Talia Schlanger in for Tom Power. The Grammys are coming up and the Marias are up for Best New Artist. Front person Maria Zardoya will tell you how they went from knowing absolutely no one in the music industry 10 years ago to millions of streams, touring with Billie Eilish, and now being nominated for Best New Artist.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Greenland's future will dominate discussions in Washington today. The foreign ministers of Greenland and Denmark will be sitting down with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened military action against the Danish territory. Trump says acquiring the island is key to U.S. national security. The CBC's Willie Lowry joins me now from Washington. And Willie, what do we know about today's meeting?
So it comes after repeated attempts by Greenland and Denmark to secure a face-to-face with the Trump administration. President Donald Trump has been threatening to take over Greenland since before he even began his second term, but his rhetoric following the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has really ratcheted up in recent weeks.
We are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not.
On social media this morning, Trump doubled down, saying the U.S. needs the island for national security reasons. Comments like these have alarmed Danes and Greenlanders and really spurred them into action. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who, along with Vice President J.D. Vance, will lead the U.S. side during this meeting, floated buying the island, something both Greenland and Denmark have rejected.
What have we been hearing from officials in Greenland and Denmark?
They've been pretty clear. The island is not for sale, and even if it were, it would be up to Greenland, an autonomous territory, to decide its future, not the United States. Greenland's Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen was recently asked his stance if it comes down to a decision between the U.S. and Denmark.
Og hvis vi skal vælge mellem USA og Danmark her og nu, så vælger vi Danmark.
Nielsen saying if Greenland had to decide between the U.S. and Denmark, Greenland would choose Denmark there. Greenland and Denmark have presented a united front thus far, with Danish leaders saying a U.S. takeover of the island could mean the end of NATO and the rules-based order that has governed much of the world for the last 80 years.
Thank you, Willie.
My pleasure.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington. Despite growing tension in the circumpolar region, local communities are preparing for the Arctic Winter Games. Whitehorse plays host in less than 2 months. George Meritos has the latest from Whitehorse.
My first games was 1974 when they were first hosted in Anchorage.
John Rada has a long history with the Games. Today he is president of the Arctic Winter Games International Committee. He says organizers are keeping the current Arctic geopolitical tensions at bay.
We work with political people, but we don't work in politics.
This isn't the first time international politics has cast a shadow on the Arctic Winter Games. After the invasion of Ukraine, The Russian delegation to the Games was suspended in 2022. That Russian suspension remains in place. But for the upcoming Whitehorse gathering, the Games continue as planned.
We're not going to cancel the Games.
Rada himself is American.
I have a daughter-in-law who is actually Danish. I have lots of friends around the circumpolar world. And at this point, again, our focus is the Games.
Klaus Nielsen is the president of the Sports Confederation of Greenland. He says Greenland has no concerns about sending athletes and coaches to the Games, and they won't be withdrawing. The Arctic Winter Games begin in early March. George Moratis, CBC News, Whitehorse.
CBC News has learned the number of military aircraft Canada would need to buy for Saab to create new jobs in this country. The federal government is considering whether to buy new fighter jets and surveillance aircraft from the Swedish firm, or it could purchase all of its new fleet from Boeing, a U.S. company. As Danielle LeBlanc tells us, it would take a significant order of aircraft to bring new jobs to Canada.
You have a fantastic industrial base. It makes sense to do it in Canada.
This is the president of Saab, Michael Johansson, 2 months ago, promising to create 10,000 jobs to build aircraft in Canada. CBC News has learned new details about the Swedish firm's proposal. To obtain the promised jobs, the Canadian Armed Forces would need to make a major purchase for 72 Gripen fighter jets to replace Canada's CF-18s, as well as 6 GlobalEye aircraft that are packed with radars and surveillance equipment. Industry Minister Mélanie Joly confirmed the project is being studied in Ottawa.
It's a question of sovereignty. It's a question of security to be able to build at home.
She added Canada needs to protect itself from the trade tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump.
We're dealing with a very unpredictable Trump administration, and what we can control is whom we're giving contracts to and how we're creating jobs here at home.
An expert in military matters at the Université du Québec à Montréal, Justin Massy, cautioned Canada could struggle to integrate a new fleet of Gripen fighter jets, just as they start receiving 16 American-built F-35s this year.
What we need is a clear military rationale of why we need a mixed fleet. When can that happen? And that cannot happen while we're still transitioning towards the F-35. We can't double transition.
As Canada's military budget is ballooning, Prime Minister Mark Carney now has to decide whether Canada buys Gripen fighter jets and whether to cut back on its order of 88 F-35s. Danielle Leblanc, CBC News, Ottawa.
The U.S.-based group Human Rights Activists say more than 2,500 people have been killed in Iran. Skylar Thompson is the group's deputy director. She says this is the most deadly protest in Iran since the Islamic Revolution in 1979.
One death is too many deaths, but we have a really high number now.
She says Iranian authorities have arrested more than 16,000 people. Most of them are arbitrary detentions. Her group has also documented dozens of forced confessions.
They happen under coercion, and that coercion is often done with psychological and physical torture. Then later in a show trial, these confessions are used as justifications to sentence people to death.
There are reports a 26-year-old man who was arrested on Thursday will be executed today. His name is Irfan Sultani. He was arrested at a protest on the outskirts of Tehran before the internet blackout. At least 29 people are dead after a construction crane crashed onto a moving passenger train in Thailand. Salima Shivji has the latest.
Thick smoke billows up from the crushed train as emergency crews rush to put out the flames coming out of one car. The first rescuers on the scene standing on top of one of the mangled carriages, desperately calling out to see if there are any survivors inside. Beside the smoldering wreckage, dozens of injured passengers lie on the ground while their injuries are wrapped and bandaged. With ambulances full, many were delayed getting to nearby hospitals. The deadly accident happened at 9:30 in the morning northeast of Thailand's capital, Bangkok, when a crane carrying a large concrete block dropped it and fell on top of a moving train below. The collapse derailed and sliced the train, witnesses said. At least 6 of the nearly 80 injured passengers are in serious condition, and authorities expect the number of dead to rise. Thailand's transport minister has ordered a thorough and comprehensive investigation in a country that's no stranger to deadly construction accidents blamed on safety lapses. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
Climate monitoring groups say 2025 was a very hot year. Their review of global temperature shows it was the third hottest year on record. As science reporter Anand Ram tells us, that is worrying for several reasons.
Mama, j'ai chaud, j'avais soif.
Khadi Kamara remembers how her son struggled in school during the hot months last year in Dakar, Senegal. But Kamara, a women's rights and climate campaigner, knows how much worse kids in rural communities had it. But imagine this child compared to the one in the village who has to walk kilometers under 45-degree heat. From Africa's Sahel region to Central Asia to right here in Canada, temperature records were broken. And new data from several climate organizations confirms last year was a scorcher. Carlo Buontempo is director of Europe's Copernicus Climate Change Service.
2025 is now one of the 3 warmest years on record. In particular, 2025 is the 3rd warmest, just by a fraction of a degree, 0.01 cooler than 2023.
Decimal points that still meant death and destruction around the world. Even nations used to the heat struggling.
And the one thing about the heat wave is we call them silent killer.
Fahad Saeed is a climate scientist with Climate Analytics, a think tank. Though 2025 wasn't the hottest year ever, its impacts are sometimes hidden.
People are being killed because of the heat wave. They die because of the heat wave, but they are not recorded. So we don't know what is the scale of the deaths.
And consider that last year had the cooling influence of the La Nina climate phenomenon. That's expected to go away soon, leaving 2026 as another hot one waiting to happen. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
And that is World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. Hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for joining us this morning on Information Radio. Going to be a little bit colder in Winnipeg than we've been used to the last couple of mornings for sure. It's minus 19 right now. Thanks for being with us on CBC this hour on the show. We're going to talk about how much it costs to go out and eat. 3/4 of Canadians dined out less last year. According to industry group Restaurants Canada, we're going to talk to them about how restaurants are managing the losses. In addition, we'll hear from Desiree Scott, Manitoba's Olympic medalist in soccer. One of them is returning to the city, now retired. So what's she going to be doing? She's taking on a new role. And then, as you've been hearing on World Report, the situation is dire in Iran. And information is barely trickling out as the regime there continues its brutal crackdown on protesters. We'll have a full interview about what today might bring. That is coming up just ahead of 7 o'clock. But stay right here because we have a problem on Main Street. And with those details, Heather Wells is in from our news department live today. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning. Yes, fire has shut down Main Street entirely between Disraeli and Higgins this morning. The fire is at the Manwin Hotel. Police say it started around 4 o'clock this morning. Now, that hotel is vacant, but buses are being used because there are still people in that area who need a warm place to stay. So southbound Main and northbound Main shut down right now. Police do say southbound Main could reopen shortly, but long-term is what we're looking at for northbound Main, and police are asking drivers to avoid that area. So once again, that's a fire in the 600 block of Main Street. We do have a reporter on the way, so we'll bring you the latest coming up at 6:30. And the mother of a teen on a school bus that rolled on an icy highway yesterday is relieved her daughter will be okay. The bus was from Sapataouiat Cree Nation. It crashed in the Swan River area. Krista Kalpapay's 16-year-old daughter broke 2 vertebrae in the crash, but has been told she won't need surgery. So we'll hear more on that story as well. Coming up in our next news at 6:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks.
And thanks to Megan, who's on her way to the scene there. Let's go to Abby Adiyemi to talk about the return of the cold.
Yeah, Marcy, slippery sidewalks. I almost did a wipeout this morning, but I just held myself together.
Careful, eh?
So you need to take it easy as you step out this morning. It's a crisp one. We're going to be seeing sunshine dominating most regions in the southern part of the province, while up north we're still seeing the deep freeze towards Tuduli Lake this morning, where actual temperatures are around minus 35, but the wind chill is in the range of the minus 40s. Winnipeg right now, we are at minus 20. It is clear outside. Temperatures will hover between between minus 20 and minus 24 all morning. Then we will see plenty of sunshine, light breeze, and a high would be around minus 14 for today. Though the wind chill this morning, it actually feels like minus 33. Across the southern regions, similar conditions. We're seeing minus 16s to minus 25s, and highs would be around minus 12 with a mix of sun and cloudy conditions in the south. But up north, we're looking at ice crystals around Churchill at this time, and Tudula Lake is actually hitting that temperature of minus 35 with a wind chill even colder than that. So take it easy out there. Winnipeg right now, minus 20. It is clear. It's going to be a sunny day. We only get to minus 14 today.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Let's tee up the morning commute. Corey Funk is in.
Yes, and really the only issue and the biggest issue, of course, is that closure on Main Street. Would love to get some updates from folks if you're out there, if you want to tell us about what you're seeing, how backed up things are. Give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
To win it for Canada! Canada came! Canada conquered! Canada gold at Tokyo 2020!
It was such an exciting moment. That sound of Winnipeg's very own Desiree Scott and the Olympic gold medal winning team in Tokyo 2020. The Olympian holds gold and bronze medals in women's soccer. She recently played for Ottawa Rapid FC in the Northern Super League, but she's coming back home to Winnipeg to take on the role of Director of Technical Development and Initiatives at Winnipeg's FC Northwest. Desiree Scott spoke with CBC's Chloe Friesen on Up to Speed yesterday.
I've been so fortunate to play the sport I love for so many years. Recently retired, had a number of opportunities come my way, but it has always been my plan to help grow the soccer community back home in Winnipeg, my hometown. And I am going to be the new Director of Technical Development and Initiatives for the soccer club I grew up playing for, FC Northwest.
That is such a lovely full circle moment for you. Tell me how the opportunity came up. Was it an easy yes?
I mean, I would hope so. Biased opinion. I would hope anyone would want to work with me. But yeah, I just had reached out to some early conversations, just gauging interest, and it was the best move for me. They allowed that flexibility, me to learn and grow and help give my impact and expertise where I can. So I'm excited for it.
How long has it been since you lived full-time in Winnipeg?
Over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
So beyond the job, what are you most looking forward to?
I'm definitely looking back forward to just like getting hands-on with the future FC Northwest players. I love that part of coaching, and I haven't had a lot of time to do it because I've been playing. So being able to give back, share my knowledge and skill on the pitch, and help direct a club that helped me get to where I am today. And then also just seeing friends and family again on the weekends, going for dinner, all of those fun things.
Oh, that must be nice. Any go-to restaurants or spots that you're excited to hit up again?
Man, it's been a minute. Our food scene's crazy in Winnipeg, and I know there's a lot popping up that I have to try. So no definite go-tos, but excited to check out the new things that are popping up.
When it comes to working with youth, why is that such a motivation for you?
For me, it's always been something that's been important. I think I have had the fortunate place to be a role model for people, especially for the female girls out there. And I think they need a positive presence, a positive role model who has done it, who can encourage and allow them to dream big and help, create the pathway for them to get there. And so I've always wanted to give back, help in that way. And I think I'm a good person to do it.
It feels like there's a lot of momentum around women's sports in general, but women's soccer specifically, especially with the Northern Super League. What have you seen that do for the sport within not only professional women's soccer players, but also youth who are watching it?
I think it's just inspired the generation. This Northern Super League has been a long time coming. I was fortunate enough to play in it. I've seen what it has done, not only for the cities that teams are in, but the little girls, the little boys, the families that come out to watch the games day in and day out. They're inspired, they're tapped in, they're keen to come to games and know the sport, whether you know it or love it or you're brand new to it. It's bringing communities together, and it's inspiring that future generation to dream big. We now have a pathway from grassroots all the way up to the pros right here in our backyard. And so if you can dream it, you can see it, you can be it. And that's what the Northern Super League is.
It's a bit of a complicated time for the sport in Winnipeg. The city just lost its professional men's soccer team, Valor FC. But with the success of the Northern Super League, what do you think the chances are of getting us an NSL team? Is that going to be like your side gig, just like waving your arms, come please to Winnipeg?
Man, that's a heavy project on my to-do list alongside helping out FC Northwest. But yeah, we've seen how successful the teams, the 6 markets have been in the Northern Super League. They're looking for expansion in 2027. I myself and Rob Gale are leading the charge in trying to get a team to Winnipeg. It's feasible. It's sad with the loss of Valor. I was training with those guys in preseason, so it's sad for the community, sad for the players who lost their jobs as well. But with one door closes, I think there's more opportunity, for potential of an NSL team done the right way by the right people. And I'm hoping to be involved in that and help bring that to our city.
In addition to the new job, which I know involves a lot of soccer, are you going to be keeping like soccer in your life? Are you going to still play? Are you going to show up to like a recreational league and just go full destroyer on it? What's the plan?
Man, I've had a lot of texts in my group chats, like finally you can go to club nationals and go to like masters with the girls. So I'm in the group chats. I'm still going to be playing. I have a co-ed team I join when I'm back in town and around. So definitely we'll keep the pair of cleats handy.
I would not want to be on the opposite team. I don't play soccer, but I don't know, like lacing up my cleats in front of an Olympian just seems intimidating.
I want no slide tackling. We'll be all right.
Desiree Scott in conversation there with CBC's Chloe Friesen about her new position with Winnipeg's FC Northwest Youth Soccer Club as she returns to the city. Now, today we actually have a lot to celebrate in terms of Winnipeggers who are achieving athletic greatness. In the next hour of the show, we are going to be talking to Jocelyn Laroc. She was just named again to the 2026 Olympic hockey team for the women. This is going to be her 4th games. And also just want to mention Winnipeg's Katie Tabin. It's going to be her first games. But we'll talk to Jocelyn Laroc about that honor and also what she's expecting next month in Milano Cortina. That's coming up in an hour from now. Well, performing at the Handsome Daughter on January 23rd, Neighbor Andy. If you've never been to a show, bit of a taste of the tunage. This is Wild One on CBC 89.3 FM.
Just like you're dancing
A week from Friday, that is neighbor Andy. They're going to be playing the Handsome Daughters. So that's January 23rd if you want to check out the show locally here in Winnipeg. 6:24 a.m. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team here at CBC. Thanks for joining us. Big fire on Main Streets closed both north and southbound Main between Disraeli and Higgins. So take that as a traffic note right now. We'll hear more in the news. 788-3093 is where you can reach us with any commuter details. Significantly colder this morning in Winnipeg. Our current temperature is -20 with cloud cover. Well, are you eating out less in 2026? Is that one of the things you're planning on doing to save some money? Restaurants are feeling it. McDonald's Canada even is lowering the cost of its value meals by $1. According to the fast food giant, it means a junior chicken or a McDouble fries and a drink for $5 is what they're lowering things to. And this isn't an ad for McDonald's. It is a jumping off point for a bigger discussion about the challenges facing restaurants in this country. To talk about that, we have Matt Treemstra with us. He's the Federal Affairs Vice President of Restaurants Canada, which is an industry lobby group, and he's in Ottawa. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So what does this tell us about the state of the restaurant industry in Canada, that even a fast food giant like McDonald's is losing customers?
Yeah, I mean, what do you do when 75% of your consumers say they're going to use your product less, right? And so that's what we're finding, that 75% of Canadians are saying they're going to dine out less because of the higher cost of living, right? And so with so many of our operators already operating at a loss, I mean, about 41% of our operators tell us they're just breaking even or losing money. You know, it's a bit of a dire situation, right? And so, you know, McDonald's has entered the conversation by saying, hey, we recognize where Canadians are at, and we're going to reduce the price of our value meal.
How stressful is that for, a juggernaut like McDonald's to do that then, and then that puts further pressure on small businesses who maybe don't have the luxury of that choice because they're not as big?
Right, and we see that over and over again where our operators just absorb costs, right? Like prices go up, but you can't just reprint your menu every time there's a price increase, right? Because consumers won't tolerate that either, right? And so it is a stressful environment for all restaurants right now.
How much are restaurants struggling to stay afloat right now? You threw out a number there, but I know World Report had some detail on this the other day, saying that this is going to be a critical year. We could see some closures in this country.
Yeah, and that number is consistent. I think it's about 4,000 is the expectations. That's consistent with our data as well. Look, we're at a point in time where chronically high input costs over the last 5 years because of inflation, and we're talking about food, operating supplies, labor, insurance, on top of an affordability crisis, is just meaning this huge drop in consumer spending, right? And so our operators are trying to meet the consumers where they're at, but it's at the expense of their bottom line. And in some cases, the businesses just can't survive that.
What's a profit margin for a restaurant, and how might that be? How has that changed when you look at what's been happening with the prices of food and inflation?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say to that, profit margins for restaurants are just already razor thin to begin with, right? And so any time, it's not just getting hit on food, it's getting hit on higher insurance and labor, right? It's getting hit everywhere, right? It's, death by a thousand cuts, so to speak, for our operators.
But is there a number that sort of, you used to get into restaurant business and could expect reasonably this kind of a profit margin, and now it's, what is it down to now?
No, I don't have those numbers at my fingertips. I can tell you that, when you go in for a full meal and you buy the appetizer and you buy the drink, that helps improve the profitability of that. But those are the kinds of decisions that Canadians are making, right? Is maybe you still go out, but you're not buying alcohol anymore. And I think we've seen data that says alcohol sales are down as well, right?
Mm-hmm. The Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University is projecting, as you alluded to here, 4,000 restaurants closing this year after 7,000 closed last year. What types of restaurants are at the biggest risk of shuttering?
Yeah, I think it's pretty widespread. We're seeing lots of big and small restaurants not be able to make it. I think it does take into account more, the independents. If you're an independent, or a smaller restaurant, you're probably more at risk, but even the big giants are still owned by, individual owners and operators, right? And so, while it may be affecting, the independents more, I think it's affecting the whole industry.
And as I alluded to, not all restaurants can just lower prices like McDonald's did. So what tactics are restaurants using to get people in the door?
Yeah, some common ones include, how do you change suppliers to lower your costs? How do you remove menu items that are less profitable? Focus on, your popular discs to bring people in. Some restaurants have just had to reduce their hours of operation, right? And so it used to be so common that, a restaurant was open from breakfast to dinner. Now maybe it's only open for lunch or on the weekends, right? And so all of these things are ways that operators are trying to, reduce their expenditures so that they can keep people in the restaurant.
And how what's the reality been like if you're trying to change, as you mentioned, maybe trying to change distributors?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's doing it, right? And so sometimes, the headache alone of trying to figure that out is challenging, right? And so, I mean, I think some people are having success, but it's certainly not a silver bullet.
And what would you say to someone that's looking to get into the restaurant business in Canada right now about the reality of it?
Yeah, you got to love what you do, and you got to love what you're cooking. Certainly we want to see more people go in. I mean, restaurants is where we go to celebrate and be with our friends, and it's also, what our families need is as you go to soccer practice, right? And so we want to see more people in the industry, but you've got to be eyes open to all the challenges we're facing.
All right, Matt, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Matt Treemstra is a Federal Affairs Vice President of Restaurants Canada. We reached him this morning in Ottawa. Not sure about you, but will you be eating out less this year? Is that something that is going to be cut from your budget? I know at Christmas I was asking family members for gift cards because that was one of the things that we were sort of looking at, unfortunately, in our own budget. So I said, well, support the restaurants by buying the gift cards for us, and then when I want to go out, I won't feel badly. I'll have those gift cards. So that was sort of one of the strategies that I was looking at. But if you want to weigh in on the listener line, 204-788-3205. Still ahead, we have our business report coming up. CIBC is forecasting a wider discount for Alberta heavy oil this year. We'll find out what's behind that after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is so different than yesterday. We were melting this time yesterday. Right now, it's minus 20. We will see lots of sun, though, a bit of a northerly breeze, and a high today of minus 14. A big fire at a vacant hotel on Main Street this morning has shut down that street entirely. CBC reporter Megan Ketchison is on the scene of the Manwin Hotel. Megan?
Yes, and you can just see smoke billowing out from the Manwin Hotel. Fire started this morning. Fire crews were called here about 4 o'clock in the morning. We have aerial trucks that are pumping water on this fire, as well as crews that are on the ground. Now, the Manwin Hotel was vacant, and it is located between Logan and Higgins, and that stretch of Main Street is completely closed. Now, and again, you can just see the twisted wreck of the building. It looks like there's going to be very little left of it once this fire is put out. Every so often you'll see flames bursting forth from the scene and lots and lots of smoke. You'll be able to see that if you're coming in towards the downtown. Now, Main Street, north and southbound, is closed between Higgins and Logan, and we do have buses that are here for people for shelter. This is right in between the Salvation Army and the Main Street Project, so and which you can't be in at the moment. So that's for some of those people that are unhoused. So we don't know how long this is going to last, but you can expect that Main Street's going to be closed at least northbound for some time. Reporting live, Megan Ketchison, CBC News.
Thank you so much, Megan. And we will bring you the latest on that story as it continues to develop. A mother of a teen on a school bus that rolled on an icy highway yesterday is relieved her daughter will be okay. The bus was from Sapataway at Cree Nation. It crashed in the Swan River area. Krista Kopapay's 16-year-old daughter broke 2 vertebrae in that crash, but has been told she won't need surgery. Kopapay says her daughter was asleep on the bus when all of a sudden it was rolling.
I hope they can find a solution and that these buses can be safe for all of our students, especially when they travel on highways.
Manitoba Premier Rob Canoe was asked about the idea of mandating seatbelts on school buses. Canoe says he's open to the conversation, but also urges patience about looking at what caused yesterday's crash before rushing to a solution. Help is arriving for Pimicikamak Cree Nation. The northern Manitoba community is still recovering after a power outage and catastrophic water leaks and frozen pipes. Plumbers and soldiers are now on the ground. Eric Westhaver is there.
7 Canadian Armed Forces soldiers arrived this week to help after a devastating power outage. 3 more are arriving later this week to join the plumbers, electricians, and other workers who have come to rebuild. Lieutenant Colonel Arthi Prabhakaran is the Technical Assessment Team Commander. She said the soldiers' job is to hear what help locals need.
Right now we're on receive mode. We're trying to absorb as much information and understand the problems.
Bo Beardy is a plumber born in Pimicikamak.
It's just sad that like people are just here washing dishes in bowls, and we just got to get the water going because like everybody needs water.
It may take months for the community to recover from the outage. Sonia Spence with the nation's community support said that many people's food spoiled during the outage. People have been coming for baby formula, clean water, and essential items.
There was 500 meat hampers yesterday, and they went within 2 hours, 3 hours.
4,000 people in Pimicikamak left their homes when the power went off. Some have returned, and leaders hope the rest can soon. Eric Westhaver, CBC News, Pimicikamak Cree Nation, Manitoba.
Prime Minister Mark Carney arrives in Beijing today for 4 days of senior-level talks on trade and security. This visit comes as Canada and China try to move past years of diplomatic tension, and Canadian canola farmers are among those hoping for a breakthrough. You can hear more on this story and other national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Ask children about artificial intelligence, and they've probably heard of it, used, and might already have an opinion on it. Now the Winnipeg School Division is working on adapting to new technology. Superintendent Matt Henderson says while they're not ready to implement specific policies around AI, they have developed a thinking framework.
To be able to say, when I'm using artificial intelligence, am I taking into all sorts of things into consideration? And then moving from there, when I'm teaching, am I teaching children about artificial intelligence, what drives it, what the ramifications are, who benefits?
Henderson says the school division worked with senior administration, teachers, and families in developing the framework. Staff and teachers are now examining what that looks like in the classroom. We'll make it 3 wins in a row for the Winnipeg Jets.
Taves shoots and scores!
Jonathan Taves in the second period on TSN as the Winnipeg Jets edged the New York Islanders 5-4. The Jets, though, blew a 3-0 lead to fight back for that win. Coach Scott Arniel says coming off 11 straight losses recently, his team plays with purpose.
Confident, it really is. And, we were tentative. It looked like we were, afraid to make plays because we were afraid that maybe something bad would happen. Now you're seeing, each and every line go out there with confidence and making plays and spending time in the offensive zone with that confidence. And that's you can't play this game on your heels. You got to play it on your toes, and certainly a lot more of that.
Next up, the Jets are on the road playing, hopefully on their toes, in Minnesota tomorrow. You can find more news updated throughout the day and the latest on that fire at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Heather, those poor folks in the buses, and then Meeks out there covering this. It's yesterday was so warm, and then on top of the fire devastation or whatever's happening, it's just cold.
So cold, yeah. And it just fog all over that area. But thankfully, they do have those warm buses for people.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So the exhaust fog is really, you can see it out the window here. I'm watching the cars go by our CBC studios on Portage. Let's get into the actual temperatures and what the rest of the day is going to bring. It's time for your regional forecast with Abby.
Yeah, good morning, Marcy. It's going to be more like a sunny day, but it's a chilly one to start this Wednesday. We're going to see temperatures really stay on the chilly side for most of the regions this morning. Just as we're seeing in Winnipeg right now, minus 20 outside, and it's really going to hover between that minus 20 and minus 24 all morning before we see our temperature warm up to about minus 14 later. That would be because of the sunshine we would get to start the day. So that would warm things up to about minus 14 later. But this morning, you will be dealing with that wind chill values of like minus 33 to minus 35, depending on where you are. So there's a risk of frostbite in play as you make that transition from one bus to another. And then tonight, we'll see some cloudy conditions and light snow will roll in overnight into tomorrow morning. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Pembina Valley region this morning. Minus 18 at this time. Sunshine also on its way. way to that part of the province. You will see your temperatures actually warm up to about -9 later in the day, though some breezy conditions will come in the afternoon. -18 we're spotting in Brandon towards Nipawat this morning. Cloudy right now. There's a slim chance of flurries to come your way sometime this afternoon. You warm up to -8 later in the day. Dauphin is sitting at -16 at this time. Dauphin warms up to -2. That will be thanks to the sunshine you get in that part of the province. So there's a slim chance of flurries also in the forecast. For the Interlake region, we're looking at -25 at this time. Clear conditions, sunshine on its way to the Gimli area. Your highs will be around -12. However, you see a wind chill values in the range of a -32 this morning. Now, for folks around the powerful influence surrounding communities, we're looking at -16 at this time. Light snow falling in that part of the province at this time. Your temperature just stays around at -16, -15 for most of the day, though the wind chill feels like -37 this morning. Now, for folks in Thompson, you have a clear morning, -27 at this time. You're heading to a high of -16, though the wind chill close to -37. Snow moving in tonight for folks in the Thompson region. Up into Dooley Lake, we're tracking -32, -33. Clear conditions. Sunshine also on its way. It warms things up to about -15, though you deal with the wind chill this morning, -36, -37. While Churchill, we're looking at -27 with some ice crystals. That's going to stay quite cold. Your temperature only gets to about -21 later today, and that wind chill is going to be near -35. So overall, it's going to be bright across board, but we're going to feel that chilly conditions as snow arrives in many regions tonight. Winnipeg remains clear, -20 at this time.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
The commute with details, Corey Funkson.
Yes, of course. We've been hearing in the news that big fire on Main Street. It's closed both northbound, southbound Main between Disraeli and Higgins. That's at the Manwin Hotel. That fire started at 4 this morning. What we've heard from police, just reiterating what Heather said earlier, that southbound and northbound are closed. Southbound may open. We don't know for sure yet, but for sure northbound is going to be closed for the majority of the morning. So you're going to want to avoid that if you can. Also got a call from Keith on the CBC commuter line. Corden and Stafford, there's been a collision. So westbound Stafford in the far right lane, he said, at Corden. There it's blocked, so keep left to get around that. As you can imagine, some backups there from the bottlenecking. If you do see anything else going on, though, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Time for business news with Chrisley Ramlakan. Hello to you.
Hey, good morning, Marcy.
So up until this week, Wall Street's generally benefited from the Trump administration's policies, but now I understand CEOs are turning on U.S. President Donald Trump.
Yeah, and this is as he attacks the U.S. Federal Reserve and the credit card industry. So Trump signed a bill in July that pushed more tax cuts and cut the budget of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is at times the banking industry's nemesis. And Trump's bank regulators have also been pushing a deregulatory agenda that both banks and large corporations have embraced. But now the Justice Department, as we know, has launched an investigation into Fed Chair Jerome Powell that many say threatens the institution that is supposed to set interest rates free of political interference. And central bankers around the world are also uniting in defense of Powell, including Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem. Now, Trump is also proposing a one-year 10% cap on interest rates on credit cards, which is a lucrative business for many financial institutions. So bank chief executives are warning Trump's actions will do more harm than good for the U.S. economy.
To another story, CIBC is forecasting a wider discount for Alberta heavy oil this year. What's behind that?
Yeah, so this prediction comes as the U.S. plans to rebuild Venezuela's ailing oil industry. So analysts with the bank estimate that the differential between Western Canada Select, which is the heavy Alberta blend, and West Texas Intermediate, the U.S. light oil benchmark, will average $14.25 U.S. a barrel. And last year, the price gap averaged less than that at $11.30. And that was as Canadian producers benefited from the first full year of operations of the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion to the West Coast, enabling exports to Asia. So Venezuelan and Alberta crude are both thick and require specialized equipment to refine into products such as gas and diesel. Now, refineries on the U.S. Gulf Gulf Coast are set up to handle that type of oil. So CIBC says any meaningful increase in Venezuelan supply would compete with imports from Alberta and could weigh on prices. But the majority of Canada's exports to the U.S. wind up in the Midwest, with just 10% going to the Gulf. So other analysts say there's actually little risk of Canada being pushed out of the U.S. market in a meaningful way, given just how integrated Midwest refineries are to cross-border pipeline networks. So they say Canada's primary exposure is really to sentiment and marginal pricing, not to a sudden loss of U.S. market access. Still, though, CIBC is expecting weaker prices in the first part of this year, with some recovery in the second half.
And finally, we're seeing layoffs at Meta now, right?
Yeah, that's right. So a little over 4 years after Mark Zuckerberg changed Facebook's name to Meta, reflecting his view at the time that the future was really going to be virtual, the company is making a major change. So this week, Meta began laying off employees focused on virtual reality and is shutting down a number of departments that were working on VR. The New York Times is reporting about 1,000 job losses. So Meta really is scaling back its metaverse ambitions. Remember when all those stories were coming out about that we were, going to basically all work and live in the metaverse with these like VR headsets on and have our little avatars in there? But, I guess they don't think it's really going that way. Yeah, and the company, of course, is really ramping up its investments in artificial intelligence, of course. So AI, as we know, has consumed Silicon Valley and the broader industry. Zuckerberg has been paying big bucks for top AI talent, most notably investing $14 billion into the startup Scale AI, and then hired the founder, Alexander Wang, who is now leading AI strategy, along with other engineers and researchers from that startup.
We later actually are going to hear from some students in Winnipeg with a special report for Alana Cole about how they use AI in their classroom. So related to AI, but not to Zuckerberg. Thank you for this morning. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Marcy.
Christley Ramlicam with our business news. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you're doing well this Wednesday morning. It is a mostly cloudy January 14th, minus 20, significantly colder than it has been the last couple of mornings. And Main Street remains closed both north and southbound between Disraeli and Higgins. Also, problem northbound Stafford at Corridon. So take care in both those spots. Call Corey if you have any other problems this morning at 788-3093. Well, next on the show, in case you missed this, there is quite a story developing in Canada's Olympic skeleton team. They're responding to accusations that it sabotaged a U.S. athlete's chances at the upcoming Winter Games. So the American slider says the actions of a Canadian coach ruined her shot at qualifying for Milano Cortina. Athletes from all of the countries are chasing the last qualification points right now for the event. So Canada, what happened here, withdrew 4 athletes from a recent competition. The smaller field, though, meant that a reduced number of Olympic qualification points were available. So with 19 women entered last Sunday in the North American Cup, the winner earned 90 points for her victory instead of 120. The CBC's Marianne Demain explains more about the dispute.
American skeleton racer Katie Eulander says she had hoped to participate in her 6th Olympics, but she says that dream was sabotaged by Canada, and she blames it on the decision by Canada's team on Sunday to pull 4 of its 6 women competing in the North American Cup. The reason why that matters is at this point, athletes are trying to get qualifying points in order to make it into the upcoming Winter Games. And by pulling those 4 athletes, Canada not only made there fewer athletes competing, but that also impacted the potential qualifying points. There were fewer for those athletes who did compete, and Eulander says that directly impacted her. Here's what she had to say to the CBC's Sarah Levitt.
Without the full points, my Olympic dream is likely crushed. And that's why it hurt so badly. And I think that's why the coach called, because we have been friends for 20 years, and he said he wanted me to hear it from him directly, and that he was sorry that I was basically collateral damage in an effort to protect one of his top athletes.
The coach she's talking about is Canada's coach, Joe Cecchini, who she says told her that he made that last-minute decision on Sunday in order to help some of Canada's top athletes make it and compete in the upcoming Winter Games. And it's not just Ulander who is speaking out about this. Denmark also expressing concern about what they're calling manipulating the qualifying process here. They're also calling Canada's last-minute decision to pull those athletes dirty tricks that they say go against the values of the Olympic Games. There's now an investigation into this by the International Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation, which will now look into the impact of Canada's decision on rankings. We also have a statement from the Bobsleigh Canada Skeleton, which says it recognized that withdrawing athletes had an unintended impact on the size of the field and consequently the number of development points allocated for the event. However, it is well understood within the sport that development circuits do not carry fixed points. The statement goes on to say BCS remains confident that its actions were appropriate, transparent, and aligned with both athlete welfare and the integrity of the sport. CBC heard from former CBC Olympic commentator Mark Connolly for his take.
In the long history of Olympics and seeing how, teams manipulate things and put different, strength of teams in there sometimes to try to qualify more. This is just the way the game is played. And if you're Katie Ulander and you haven't been able to get enough points in all the qualifying, it comes down to the last race, you've really left it too late. So why should you depend on somebody else trying to do this for you?
Canada's Olympic skeleton team will be announced next week, but the clock is ticking. The games begin on February 6th. We have reached out to Joe Cicchini, and we have not yet heard back for comment.
So that was some analysis of a story Scott Regehr brought us yesterday in Morning Sports. CBC reporter Marianne Demain this morning. The International Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation said Monday that its integrity unit will conduct an investigation into the dispute. So we're right up against the games now. We'll see what develops.
Fake ads, fake stores, and even fake mistakes. Not long ago in France, Bounty candy bars were switched with Snicker wrappers on purpose.
Hey, ¿cómo se va, man? At Snickers, we're not us when we're hungry.
The world of marketing has discovered there's money in fake-vertising on Under the Influence with Terry O'Reilly. Thursday morning at 11:30, 3:30 p.m. in Newfoundland. And on demand on CBC Listen.
10 to 7 right now on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. You're with Information Radio live in downtown Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Well, next on the show, thousands of people are feared dead after Iran's regime carried out a crackdown against protesters who filled the streets in recent days. It's not clear if the protests are still going on. As you've been hearing on World Report, though, in a very dark note, today a public execution of one of the protesters is actually something that may be happening. U.S. President Donald Trump, meantime, has encouraged people to keep protesting. He said, quote, help is on the way, end quote. Meantime, Iran's authoritarian theocracy is reported to be fast-tracking, as I mentioned, executions of protesters. And yesterday we heard from some folks in our local Iranian community here that are very worried about family. One whose mother was at one of the recent protests, and they were talking afterward, and then the call got cut off midway when the country lost all communications. So for the latest today, we have Sherazad Mohab with us this morning. She's a professor emerita in Women and Gender Studies at the University of Toronto. Good morning.
Good morning.
So how is news about the crackdown getting out of Iran despite the internet blackout right now?
Within the country, there is a national internet and then international internet. People are using their national internet in order to record and send messages to each other and within the country, and also share their experiences of what they're observing of the horrific situation, security forces, and also the death toll that it is going on. And I've heard that some people are traveling to different airports in order to send the messages, to give the messages to the passengers traveling abroad in order to be circulated outside of the country. That's all I know, that this is the only way. And, yesterday there was a very short period of time that some limited phone calls where possible. And I also received a call from my brother in Tehran and saying that the situation is very difficult, but it was a very short phone call conversation.
How is he, and what can you tell us about what you're hearing about casualties?
What I'm hearing is horrific news. 2,500 deaths so far, and more than 10,000 of arrests. And the most worrying news is the threat of the government for the death sentences for protesters is actually being implemented, and they are saying that they are going to start hanging and order the execution of the protesters today.
How is your brother?
He's fine. He's fine. His voice was a bit worrying and fearful, but he just said that we're fine.
What are we hearing from Washington about any action by the Trump administration and what that could look like? We don't have a lot of detail, I understand.
Correct, and what I'm hearing is that the Trump administration is saying that all the options are on the table, ranging from military action or military intervention to targeted assassinations, or continuing the negotiation with this authoritarian theocracy. And so it's not clear, and as you mentioned, repeating that the help is underway, which I don't know what does that mean actually.
Mm-hmm. What will you be watching for in the next few hours and days? I mean, maybe that sounds like an obvious question given what the threats are, but what are you particularly going to be leaning into?
I'm observing everything with fear and hope. Fear of more repression and the killing of the people, but hope, and I put my hope on the resiliency of Iranian people, and also that one of the major problem is that due to repression, there is no formal opposition organization inside Iran, and the diaspora opposition remains fragmented and disconnected, and this is the major issue right now. I'm hoping that a kind of a transitional coalition forces will form within Iran in order to sort of take over and replace this dictatorial regime.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. All the best to you and to your family as well.
Thank you for the coverage of this very important news. Thank you for the opportunity.
Live with us on CBC's Information Radio, that was Shahrzad Mojab, a professor emerita in Women and Gender Studies over at the University of Toronto. As you heard, she herself is also directly impacted by this, having lost a connection with her brother, although they did briefly connect with each other. He is in Tehran. Our local community here, Iranian community in Manitoba, is also watching carefully and trying to connect with relatives and friends as the situation continues to develop. We have a threat of a public execution of one of the protesters today in Iran. If you're just waking this morning, we will get full details on World Report about where that is at. This is 4 minutes now to 7 o'clock, and that's when we'll get the next national and international news. In the next hour of our show, one Winnipegger is worried, speaking of other things going on in the world, about what the removal of the temporary protected status is going to mean for his fellow Somalis in the United States. We will talk to him after 7 o'clock. As well, a 3-time Olympian is going to join us. She is gearing up for her 4th Winter Games. St. Anne's Jocelyn Laroc is going to give us some insight into this year's Olympics and how she's going to be passing along her experience to the younger generation. She was named to Team Canada on Friday, so she will join us. Stay tuned. Right now, at 3 minutes to 7 o'clock, we have local news updates and developments this morning that are important to your life. And also to the lives of others. We have Heather Wells in to update us on what's going on out in Main Street. Hi there.
Good morning. Yes, that normally very busy area is completely shut down. The vacant Manwin Hotel is burning. So Main Street is closed in both directions between Disraeli and Higgins. Logan now is also closed east and westbound between King and Disraeli. So a lot of areas, police are asking drivers to try to avoid that area. They say this fire at the Manwin started around 4 o'clock this morning. Now, as I mentioned, the hotel is a vacant building. Not much left of it this morning. Buses are being used to keep others in the area warm while fire crews battle that blaze. We have Megan Ketchison in the area, and she'll bring us the latest coming up at 7:30. Help is arriving for Pimachikamak Cree Nation. The northern community is still recovering after that power outage resulting in catastrophic water leaks and frozen pipes. Plumbers and soldiers are on the ground now. We're going to take you there in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Also in the next hour of the program, I should mention that after that rollover near Swan River yesterday, a Manitoba school bus driver will weigh in. She continues to advocate for seatbelts on school buses. So we're going to hear more from her. To be clear, though, we are still awaiting some context of the nature of the injuries and more specifics of what happened in that bus. We know that 14 students on board were on board, rather. 4 were sent to hospital with serious injuries. So we'll have that bus driver on in the next hour. Right now, as Heather mentioned, Logan East-West closed between King and Disraeli, and also Main Street closed north and south between Disraeli and Higgins. We also have in another area, northbound Stafford at Corydon with an issue. Call Corey on the commute if you see another problem that we're not reporting and we should pass along. 788-3093. Weather-wise, get ready for it. Don't forget your mitts today. We're in a very different situation. Lots of exhaust fog out there. It's cold. It's minus 20. Winds are calm. We'll be at a high around minus 14 today with lots of sunshine. Stay tuned. More information radio to come. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You are with CBC on your Wednesday morning. It's 1 minute to 7.
Today on The Current.
A key example is right now we're going to hit, I think, plus 13 degrees Celsius in Canmore, Alberta tomorrow in January.
Being a mountain guide in the Canadian Rockies has always been a risky job, but those doing it today say it's getting increasingly dangerous. We will hear from a guide about how melting glaciers are changing the well-worn paths they have known. It's coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Human rights groups say more than 2,500 people have been killed during demonstrations in Iran, and the regime is now following through with its threat to execute protesters. There are reports 26-year-old Irfan Sultani will be put to death today. He was arrested less than a week ago. Crystal Gomansing is tracking this story from London.
We have never witnessed the scale of mass killings.
Aviar Shaki says Iranian officials are acting with brutality and speed to silence protesters. Hengor, the human rights group she's with, has been in touch with the family of Irfan Sultani. They were to have a final visit with him yesterday.
His sister, who was a lawyer, tried to pursue his case, but the authorities have told him there is no case to pursue.
There are reports he will be executed today. Iran's Chief Justice vowed fast trials for those arrested protesting. They're charged with waging war against God. U.S. President Donald Trump originally threatened to hit Iran very hard if protesters were killed. He told CBS News the U.S. will take very strong action.
We'll see how that works out for them.
The president did not say exactly what he's considering. It could be military action, a cyber attack on the Iranian regime, more tariffs, or sanctions. Mohammed Amiri Moghadam is with the Norwegian-based Iran Human Rights Group.
The international community must send a very strong signal because it seems that they are crossing one red line after the other.
Iranian officials warn if Trump makes good on his threats to intervene militarily, U.S. bases in the Middle East will be attacked. Direct talks between Iran and the U.S. have broken off. Crystal Gomansing, CBC News, London.
The future of Greenland will be front and center in Washington, D.C. today. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance will meet with foreign ministers from Greenland and Denmark. The Danish territory has been under threat of annexation by the Trump administration, and Inuit leaders in the circumpolar region say they need Ottawa's support more than ever. The CBC's Mahnoud Mubarak has that story.
It's disappointing the way he's conducting these comments.
Paul Ingrout is acting vice president for Nunavut Dungavik Incorporated, an organization that works to support and represent Inuit. He says Inuit and the entire circumpolar world is not the enemy of the United States.
We support the people of Greenland, and we just have to be there for them.
Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami is a national organization representing Inuit. Its president, Natan Obed, says given Trump's comments, he wants the federal government to help invest in the traditional homelands for Inuit in Canada. That could include marine or aviation infrastructure investments.
We want to be prepared to tell the rest of the world that no, we are a sovereign nation state. There is a respect for Indigenous people's rights, and there is investment within this part of Canada.
Trump has cited the need for Greenland for security reasons, and the White House released a statement earlier this month saying that military use is always an option. The premier for Nunavut also released a statement yesterday saying the territory stands in solidarity with Greenland and supports its autonomy. Mahnoud Mubarak, CBC News, Iqaluit.
A construction crane crashed into a passenger train in northeastern Thailand. Firefighters sprayed down parts of the derailed train. At least 30 people are dead. Dozens of others are hurt. The train was hit about 230 kilometers northeast of Bangkok. It happened along a section of a high-speed rail project under construction. Around 195 people were on board at the time. Police say they are still searching for survivors in the wreckage. The United Nations says more than 100 children have been killed in Gaza since the ceasefire began in October. Here's UNICEF spokesperson James Elder.
You know, a ceasefire that slows the progress of bombs, that's good news, but one that still is burying children is surely not enough.
Elder has been in Gaza City for the past 2 weeks. He told BBC Radio there are still more than 1 million people living in tents.
I think we have to look at what a day should look like for those children during a ceasefire. Wake up, warm, have a warm drink, have something to eat, and then go to school. Instead, they're waking up cold with, blue hands and trying to start the day.
Elder says in the past 3 months, there has been progress on hygiene and sanitation in Gaza. Sewage systems and water pipelines have been rebuilt. Immunization and nutrition sites have been set up, and aid groups are distributing thermal blankets and winter clothes, but he says conditions are still brutal. Military help is arriving for a northern Manitoba community. Pimichikamak Cree Nation is dealing with damage from flooding and sewage backup. A power outage late last month caused pipes to freeze and burst. Soldiers started arriving on Monday. They're joining plumbers and other workers already doing repairs. Eric Westhaver has the details.
Boots are on the ground in Pimichikamak Cree Nation. 7 Canadian Armed Forces soldiers arrived this week to help after a devastating power outage. 3 more are arriving later this week to join the plumbers, electricians, and other workers who have come to rebuild. Lieutenant Colonel Arthi Prabhakaran is the Technical Assessment Team Commander. She said the soldiers' job is to hear what help locals need.
Right now we're on receive mode. We're trying to absorb as much information and understand the problems.
The area's power was cut on December 28th. It's since been restored, but cold weather froze pipes and caused thousands of water and sewer leaks, affecting hundreds of homes. Bo Beardy is a plumber born in Pimichikamak. He's seen the effect the outage and leaks have had.
It's just sad that like people are just here washing dishes in bowls, and we just got to get the water going because everybody needs water. Water is a part of our life, and we need it to survive.
There's little rest for Beardy and company. It may take months for the community to recover from the outage, but the work must continue. Sonia Spence with the nation's community support said that many people's food spoiled during the outage. People have been coming for baby formula, clean water, and essential items.
There was 500 meat hampers yesterday, and they went within 2 hours, 3 hours.
4,000 people in Pimichikamak left their homes when the power went off. Some have returned, and leaders hope the rest can soon. Eric Westhaver, CBC News, Pimicikamat Cree Nation, Manitoba.
U.S. President Donald Trump says his country would, quote, be screwed if the Supreme Court rules against his global trade tariffs. A decision may come as early as today on whether the sweeping tariffs are legal. Trump used a series of executive orders to roll out the tariffs last year. Those orders are based on an emergency act. It grants the president power to regulate international transactions. But several states and businesses challenged the tariffs. Trump says if the Supreme Court rules against the administration, it could add up to trillions of dollars in refunds. Money, Trump says, would be almost impossible to pay back. The premiers of Ontario and Manitoba are taking friendly shots at each other over whiskey. Ontario's Doug Ford is threatening to remove Crown Royal from liquor store shelves. The parent company announced it's closing its bottling plant in the province. But Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew is asking Ford to reconsider. The CBC's Karen Pauls explains why.
Cheers.
Gimli Mayor Kevin Shudd savors a shot of Crown Royal, which has been produced at a distillery just down the road from this local pub since 1968.
They are not only a significant employer, they have a significant presence. Thank you, sir.
Tuesday, Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew came to support the workers after a threat by Ontario Premier Doug Ford issuing this plea.
We understand, Doug, that you get fired up and you say things in public, but we also understand that you do the right thing when you have a chance to reconsider. And I'm asking you to reconsider because this is about sticking together as Team Canada.
Crown Royal is bottled in Amherstburg, Ontario, but that plant is set to close in February, partly in response to U.S. tariffs.
So this is what I think about Crown Royal. That's what they could do.
In protest, Ford has gone from pouring out bottles of Crown Royal to threatening to pull them from provincially run liquor stores. Ford says he likes Kinew.
God bless him. He's doing his job. He's trying to protect jobs in Manitoba.
But he's not backing down.
Sure as I'm talking to you, that Crown Royal is coming off the shelves.
Manitoba's premier says he's optimistic Ford will reconsider. But even if he doesn't, Kinew says he won't remove Ontario products from Manitoba liquor stores, saying it wouldn't be right to impact jobs in other provinces. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime at cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Thanks for joining us. Wow, it is a lot colder than yesterday, so readjust to the fact that it's January. Exhaust fog out there, pardon me, and it is minus 20 in Winnipeg. You're on CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. We do have a number of traffic challenges. Heather will talk about some of them in the news, so stay tuned and we'll let you know what's happening out there this Wednesday morning on that front. This hour on the show, coming up at 10 to 8, yesterday there was big news in Manitoba of the worst kind. A school bus with 14 students on board was trying to pass another bus. It ended up rolling off the highway near Swan River. 4 students sent to hospital with serious injuries. We're going to talk with a Manitoba school bus driver who has long been advocating for seatbelts on school buses. And we'll talk to her about her thoughts on this latest case. Now, to be clear, we're still waiting for some more specific details of what happened. Also, more than 1,000 Somalis living in the U.S. may have to leave by the end of March. A prominent member of Winnipeg's Somali community is worried people are going to risk their lives trying to come to Canada. We're going to hear more from him in a moment. Right now, I was alluding to traffic issues. They're related to something developing in news. At least one of the big ones is. Heather Wells is here with our headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, flames, smoke, ice fog, all of it covering parts of downtown and the Exchange this morning. Fire at the vacant Manwin Hotel started around 4 o'clock this morning. Our reporter, Megan Ketchison, says part of that building is now starting to collapse. The fire chief on the scene says buildings on either side of the Manwin Hotel have been evacuated. Now, if you normally drive in this area, you're not going to be right away. Main Street is closed in both directions between Disraeli and Higgins. Logan is also shut down east and westbound between King and Disraeli. and buses have been used for people in the area to stay warm. So we'll bring you the very latest on this story from the scene with Megan Ketchison coming up at 7:30. As well, ask children about artificial intelligence, and they've probably heard of it, used it, and might already have an opinion on it. Now the Winnipeg School Division's working to adapt to the new technology. We'll hear more in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Let's get into the weather forecast, and then we actually have more traffic to report here. But Abby, what's up out there?
Yeah, it's a frigid start across the province this morning. However, the sun is going to make its appearance in about an hour or so for this part of the province. Winnipeg right now, we're at minus 22. Clear outside. The morning temperature is going to hover in the low minus 20s until the afternoon period. Expect plenty of sunshine as we start the day. Light winds will make our temperatures get to about minus 14 later. However, you need to deal with the wind chill this morning in the valleys of minus 33. That means a risk of frostbite in play. Similar conditions we're seeing across board. We're looking at temperatures in the south around minus 17, and highs would be between minus 9 and minus 2. While up north, we're still dealing with temperatures close to minus 34 this morning. But Winnipeg right now, it is minus 20 outside.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
So with more traffic this Wednesday morning, that's a problem. Here's Corey Funk.
Yes, northbound Corden and Stafford. Multi-vehicle collision is blocking the northbound curb lane just past the intersection, so keep left to get around that. That's northbound Corden at Stafford. And also a reminder, because of that fire, also eastbound and westbound Logan Avenue between King Street and Disraeli also closed on top of northbound and southbound Main. So backups in that area, you might just want to avoid that area altogether. If you do see anything else, you want to give me updates on what you're seeing there by where that fire is happening or anywhere else in the city, the province, highways, bike lanes, sidewalks, give me a call. It's slippery. I can tell you that much on the sidewalks this morning. Give me a call, 204-788-3093.
Well, as I mentioned, the United States has announced that it will end the temporary protected status for Somalis living in America. That is a humanitarian protection that provides deportation relief and work permits for some 1,110 people who cannot return home. Now, their current status is set to expire on March 17th. The impact of the change, though, could be felt here in Winnipeg. It's home to a large Somali community. Abdi Ahmed is a member of that community, and we're grateful because he actually is in Nairobi, Kenya right now, but he's still taking time to join us via Zoom. Hi, Abdi.
Hi, Marcy.
So what was your reaction when the U.S. government announced this change?
You know, it's a tragic announcement from the U.S. administration in terms of ending these protection measures for Somali refugees who do not have status in the U.S. It sends a lot of anxiety in the community, not only in the U.S., but anywhere around the U.S. and where Somalis are, because there are many people who are located in the U.S. who depend on this temporary status. That's number one. And the second thing is the danger that's imminent for many of these people who are facing deportation at any moment.
And what worries you the most? I alluded to this a little bit off the top of the hour, but that they might dangerously make their way here?
So there's a couple of things. You know, the temporary protection status for Somalis in the U.S. Has existed for a long time because of the conditions in Somalia, because many of the people, if they go back to Somalia, they are likely to risk their life or, be accosted by extremist groups, Al-Shabaab, or militant groups, and many of these people who have not stayed in Somalia for a long time, when they go there, they're easily recognizable. So that's dangerous. So many of those folks, instead of risking being caught and deported, try their luck and make it on their way to Canada, where they expect to be protected. Unfortunately, the government of Canada has an agreement called the Third Safe Country Agreement with the U.S., where asylum seekers seek protection in the first country of arrival between the two countries. So the government of Canada does not allow folks who are seeking protection from the U.S., who have already sought protection in the U.S., to come to Canada. But however, many of these people, despite this agreement, the only option that they have is to make a dash for the Canadian border, and difficult situation. It's a frigid situation. Sometimes temperatures below 30 or 35, 40, crossing, farm fields of snow during the winter at night. It's a very risky situation. Many of these people risk.
I think our feed is just frozen. I think our feed is just frozen. So, Abdi, if you can still hear me, I think I'm going to ask you to turn your camera off. Can we try to reconnect with Abdi? Let's try that. So we'll try a reconnection. We'll try to call him, and we'll see how that goes. This is live radio. We had him on Zoom. But as we mentioned, he's in Nairobi, Kenya. So we're going to see whether or not connecting just with voice is going to give us a better signal. He was alluding there, too, at the end, though, to the risk that he fears that people might make if they do attempt to cross the border through farm fields and such in Emerson. Hi there, Abdi. We've got you back now.
Yeah. So sorry about the disconnect. So many of these people make a dash for the border across farm fields in frigid weather situations, and you never know whether they will make it across the border. Chances are that, we know of people who have lost their life making the attempt to cross the border, and these people have no option, and the only option that they have is to seek protection instead of being deported to Somalia, where they are likely to be killed. So it does not matter whether it's minus 40 or minus 30, people will risk their life to find a place of protection. So that's very risky, and many of these people are likely, suffer from frostbite or even die in this situation.
The U.S. continues to argue that conditions in Somalia have improved, allowing the status to be removed. What's your reaction to that?
That's not true. That's far from the truth. Somalia's situation has not changed much. The conditions on the ground continue to deteriorate. The government is not stable enough. The existing government is located just in the capital city, and many of these people come from different parts of the country. And if people get deported, and even the government that's concentrated in Mogadishu, the capital city, is not unable to protect its own self. So many of these folks, they risk their lives if they are deported back home. Conditions are still worse. And the other thing is, folks who are being deported are folks who have stayed in the U.S. for a long time, and they speak English, and they are not like the local people. Al-Shabaab will target these people because they are not from the local area, and they are known to target those kind of people. The situation on the ground is not safe at all.
One of the states that U.S. President Donald Trump has been talking about and making negative comments about Somalis, to put it mildly, has been Minnesota. And I wonder how connected we are, given that we're within driving distance here. Like, does the Manitoba Somali community have connection or hear from Somalis who might be down in the States, or very different populations, different countries?
Yeah, we have connections. The Somali community is connected across wherever they are. People share the culture, language, and many of the folks who live in Winnipeg have relatives and family members in Minnesota, and these people are across the border, almost the same, from the same regions, and same community groups, and a lot of folks are very much connected. So when Trump is, sharing all these dark vitriol of Somalis, it affects Somalis in Winnipeg. They think about their family members. And to be honest with you, Marcy, many of the Somalis who live in the U.S. in Minnesota, 99.9% of them are hard-working American citizens who have stayed in the U.S., who contribute to the U.S. in different capacities and professions. When you have one person who is involved in negative activity, it does not describe the whole community. And fortunately, Trump and his folks are picking on this kind of xenophobic attitude to describe the whole community, which is not the case.
Last, what would you like to see Canada do, Abdi, when it comes to this situation?
Canada, we have a difficult situation, particularly for Somalis. Because of the Safe Third Country Agreement, if you have already attempted to seek protection in the U.S., you will not be eligible to seek protection in Canada. The only way that's available for you is something called pre-removal assessment, which attempts to find a way for you from deportation, because if you will be deported, you're likely to risk your lives. Somalis are not deported in Canada. There is a stay on removals, something called moratorium on removals for Somali refugees to Canada unless there are people who are engaging in criminal activity. So because of this moratorium on removals, Somalis do not have opportunity to access the pre-removal risk assessment for many people who come from the US. Therefore, when Somalis get to the US or to Canada, they don't have this opportunity. They linger in limbo for a long time without status because the only option for them is something called the Minister's Compassion, which rarely comes through. And Canada, as a country that protects refugees and that has a history of supporting humanitarianism for people who are seeking protection, should be able to understand and able to open its borders for these kind of people. The one thing that's problematic is we have this safe third country agreement with the US. We signed it in early 2000 when the situations were better. Right now, we don't have a partner that can call a safe third country because we see the vitriol. We see the xenophobic attitude from the American administration for all people who are seeking protection. So Canada needs to reconsider this safe third country agreement so that people who are being removed while they are hardworking people who are seeking protection can seek protection in Canada.
Thank you very much, Abdi, for being with us this morning from Kenya. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Marcy. Thank you for having me.
That is Abdi Ahmed live with us on CBC, member of our Somali community in Winnipeg, lived here for a long time. We reached him this morning, though, in Nairobi, Kenya.
The PWHL is back for the third season of heart-stopping women's hockey. And this season, there are two new teams looking to make their mark on the ice. The Seattle Torrent and Vancouver Golden Eyes. When the world's best women's hockey players face off, anything can happen. Will the Minnesota Frost achieve a three-peat? Will a new team take home the trophy? There's only one way to find out. Watch the PWHL for free on CBC Gem.
What is the word for that feeling you get when you're lying on the couch at home and you're watching the news and you start to think that the entire world has gone completely insane except for you? What is that word? I remember now. Yes, that word is Canadian.
Rick Mercer is back with a brand new comedy special. Join Rick Mercer, Sophie Buddle, Mace Galone, and Julie Kim in Stand Up for Canada. Catch all the laughs. Watch free on CBC Gem.
We were just hearing there about the PWHL a moment ago. We're going to hear from a three-time Olympian who's been playing in the PWHL, but she's about to gear up and lace up again for her fourth Olympic Winter Games. St. Anne, Manitoba's Jocelyn Laroc is going to join us after your 7:30 news. We will hear in the news about a fire at the Manwin Hotel this morning, but I just want to mention how it's affecting traffic here. Call us if you see anything in addition to these issues. So Main Street is closed north and southbound between Disraeli and Higgins. Also, Logan is closed east and westbound between King and Disraeli. Outside of that area, we have northbound Stafford at Corydon that also is closed. And so give us a call if you see any other problems with your commute in Winnipeg or anywhere in Manitoba or on the highways. Let us know what conditions are like. 788-3093 is where you can reach us. Lots of exhaust fog out there, very slippery, we understand, underfoot especially. It's minus 20 in Winnipeg, minus 17 over in Brandon, minus 31 up in Thompson. So we've got a classic winter day here on our hands. We have Paul McGowan, who's in with Morning Sports this morning. Hi there.
Hi, Marcy.
So keep on rolling, Winnipeg Jets. A wild game against the Islanders, but they came out on top again.
Wild is spot on. The Jets built a 3-0 lead, only to watch the Isles storm back and tie things. Part of a wild 7-goal second period. It finished, though, with goals from Dylan DeMello and Adam Lowry, and it ends 5-4 for the Jets. DeMello talked afterward about the momentum swing in that busy second period.
Bit of a roller coaster for sure, feeling good, and then they pop in a couple pretty quick, and then it's like, oh, here we go. But, we were pretty lively on the bench, even when they scored to get 3-1 and 3-2, we were just like, all right, let's just go back at them, and I thought our bench was really good. Guys were positive, encouraging each other. At the end of the day, whatever happens, you got to bury it in the past and move on and try to win your next shift.
As you said, Marcy, 3 straight for the Jets. It has made, though, barely a lick of difference in the standings. The Jets still down in 31st place, and they still have better odds at the number 1 pick than they do of making the playoffs. But who knows? At least things are moving in the right direction. The Jets are back at it tomorrow night. They're in Minnesota against the Wild.
We'll be fine. I've decided to be positives. Yesterday, somebody was talking about the St. Louis Blues and years ago, and they were like, terrible, and then they won the Stanley Cup. So
that's 2018. It's not that long ago.
Let's go to soccer, though. The Canadian men are getting ready for a friendly on Saturday, right?
Yeah, part of their continuing preparation for the World Cup this summer. They're holding a training camp in California. How nice would that be? 10 days on the West Coast ahead of a friendly with Guatemala. It's an interesting camp for a couple of reasons. But first and foremost is that there's a lot on the line for the players who are there. Here's center back Kamal Miller.
There's a sense of urgency for everyone. I think in 2022, we could have picked our squad a year before the tournament. Now it's going to come down to the wire for a lot of guys. It's a coach's dream, and it just shows how far we've come as a nation, where if you look at the depth chart, instead of 1 or 2 names in each position, there's 5 or 6. It's special to be part of that group, and yeah, it's going to be a fight till the end to make the roster.
A good problem to have for head coach Jesse Marsh, who is calling this California Camp Poutine, which, sure. And the camp right now, just players from MLS. And now that season has wrapped, the Team Canada, rather, taking every opportunity to prepare ahead of maybe the biggest year ever for that program.
And let's end on tennis. A lot of excitement over at the Australian Open this morning, and not from any of the names that maybe you might expect.
Well, and that's because the Australian Open is holding maybe the greatest sideshow of all time. It's called the 1 Point Slam, a tournament in which the player who moves on is the player who scores the very first point. Not the first game, not the first set, the very first point. The prize is $1 million. And here's the kicker. It's not just pros in this tournament. It is pros, but it's also amateurs. It's men, it's women competing against each other. In short, it is chaos. Canadian Felix Auger-Aliassime this morning lost to a 23-year-old amateur from Queensland. And the final, played just earlier this morning, Marcy, did feature a pro, a women's player ranked down at 117th in the world. And it also featured one of the amateurs who were part of the draw, a Jordan Smith from Sydney. A wild evening in Sydney as Jordan Smith wins $1 million. Kind of adds fuel to the fire for every armchair athlete who thinks that they can do what the pros can do. Yeah, I understand that opening that door is kind of dangerous, but I'm also very much here for watching regular people compete against pro athletes.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thanks, Marcy.
That's Paul McGowan with Morning Sports, in for Scott Reguera this morning. Coming up, staying with athletic achievement, we're going to talk to St. Anne's Jocelyn Laroc. She's been named to the Olympic team again. And so we'll find out also why some are saying that this Team Canada is going to have their work cut out at these Olympics, even though they're the defending gold medal champions. So she is up with us right after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, we went from melting yesterday to in the deep freeze today. It is minus 20 currently, a high today of minus 14, but it will be sunny. Fire has shut down a busy part of downtown Winnipeg this morning. The Manwin Hotel is burning and impacting neighboring buildings and freezing out traffic. CBC reporter Megan Ketchison is on the scene and joins us now. Megan?
Well, fire crews have been here since about 4 o'clock this morning, and you can just see the aerial truck. You've got a number of other pumper trucks that are here on the scene that are pouring water on what's left of the Manwin Hotel. It is a twisted pile of rubble now. Every so often you'll see flames popping up from the scene. Neighboring buildings, including the Main Street project, had to be evacuated. There was a city bus here that was providing temporary shelter, but arrangements have been made for those people, and that bus is no longer here. Crews expect that they're going to be here for quite some time. Now, the Manwin Hotel is 144 years old. And just this past April, it was put up for sale along this Main Street strip. Now, if you are heading in on traffic, Main Street, both north and southbound, is closed between Higgins and now the Disraeli. It used to be open at Logan, but Logan it's closed now at the Disraeli. So traffic is being impacted by this fire, and we're expecting to speak with the chief shortly. Reporting live, Megan Ketchison, CBC News.
Thank you so much, Megan. And we will bring you the latest on this story as it continues to develop through the morning. The mother of a teen injured in yesterday's bus rollover is relieved it wasn't worse. The bus was from Sapataway at Cree Nation, and it crashed in the Swan River area. Krita Kopapay's 16-year-old daughter sustained injuries to two vertebrae that are expected to heal without surgery. Kopapay says it was a hard and emotional day as families waited to learn how their loved ones were doing.
I was just thinking the worst as a parent, thinking that one of them was gone or if it was very serious, but I really just wanted to see my daughter and to know that she was safe.
RCMP say they believe the driver of a school bus lost control while trying to pass another vehicle in icy conditions on Highway 10 in the Swan River area. Kopapay hopes this incident sparks conversations about what can be done to make school buses safer. Help is arriving for Pimicikamak Cree Nation, that northern community still recovering after a power outage and catastrophic water leaks and frozen pipes. Plumbers and soldiers are now on the ground. CBC's Eric Westhaver is there.
7 Canadian Armed Forces soldiers arrived this week to help after a devastating power outage. 3 more are arriving later this week to join the plumbers, electricians, and other workers who have come to rebuild. Lieutenant Colonel Arthi Prabhakaran is the Technical Assessment Team Commander. She said the soldiers' job is to hear what help locals need.
Right now we're on receive mode. We're trying to absorb as much information and understand the problems.
Bo Beardy is a plumber born in Pimicikamak.
It's just sad that people are just here washing dishes in bowls, and we just got to get the water going because everybody needs water.
Marcia. It may take months for the community to recover from the outage. Sonia Spence with the nation's community support said that many people's food spoiled during the outage. People have been coming for baby formula, clean water, and essential items.
There was 500 meat hampers yesterday, and they went within 2 hours, 3 hours.
4,000 people in Pimicikamak left their homes when the power went off. Some have returned, and leaders hope the rest can soon. Eric Westhaver, CBC News, Pimicikamak Cree Nation, Manitoba.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has arrived in Beijing for 4 days of senior-level talks on trade and security. This as Canada and China try to move past years of diplomatic tension. And Canadian canola farmers are among those hoping for a breakthrough. You can hear the latest on this story and other national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. Student and human-centered rather than AI-led. That is Donovan Ponce's approach to teaching students about artificial intelligence. Ponce is a grade 7 STEM and project-based learning support teacher at Winnipeg's General Wolfe School. He says as AI becomes more prevalent, students need to learn how to navigate it responsibly.
We're in the age of information, but we're in the age of misinformation as well, right? There's so many things that students can see on their social media feeds that I want them to question the validity of it. So I think there's so much AI-generated content online that we need to teach students how to discern from real and fake information.
The Winnipeg School Division doesn't have a specific policy on AI, but has a thinking framework and says staff and teachers are now examining what that looks like in the classroom. Well, it came close, but the Jets eke out another win.
Shoot it through a crowd, they score! It's 5-3.
Adam Lowry in the second period there on TSN with what would be the game-winning goal for Winnipeg 5-4, the final against the New York Islanders. The close finish after the Jets gave up a 3-0 lead earlier in the game. Now 3 wins in a row and another milestone. Mark Scheifele, 500 career assists yesterday. Coach Scott Arneo.
We've seen a great player. You guys have seen him, certainly evolve from the young player that he was when he first came here, and now he's a veteran guy that, is an elite player, and he scores and he makes plays, and that's just that's a great number to be at.
The Jets hit the road now for one game in Minnesota to play the Wild tomorrow. You can find more news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
I feel sad now that he wasn't named to the Olympic team just the last few games. He's played so well, right? Did he have 2 goals the other night too?
Yeah. I don't know how they passed over a player like that, as he is producing in all of this. He has been solid. Even in that losing streak, he was still solid.
Well, we'll continue to watch him play for the Jets. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Let's get into what's happening in our regional forecast. As I've been alluding to here, we have a much colder day today than we've had. Hi, Abby.
Hi, Marcy. It's going to be definitely a frigid and a sunny one across the regions today. We're going to see temperatures set to climb as those cloudy conditions roll in, and I'm tracking some snow moving from the west later tonight. But right now, Winnipeg and the Red River Valley region, we're looking at temperatures around -20. Clear skies we have. The temperature is going to be hovering in the low 20s for most of the morning. We have plenty of sunshine in the forecast this morning. Light winds as we get to a high of -14, though the wind chill to start the day around that range of -33 to -35. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Pembina Valley region, the Westman region, and even the Parkland region this morning. We're seeing temperatures between -18 and -16 with just a slim chance of flurries in most of the regions, but sunshine on its way. For Gimli, -24, clear skies warming up to -12 later in the day. For the powerfully influenced surrounding communities, we're looking at a -16 at this time, heading to a high, just staying around at -16, -15 for most of the day. Thompson is sitting at -31, lots of sunshine on its way. You warm up to -16 later. To Dooley Lake, we're looking at -34 at this time. Sunshine also expected in that part of the province. You warm to -15 later, while in Churchill, we're seeing ice crystals and -28.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Abby Adiemi with our weather on CBC's Information Radio. And now time to update your Wednesday morning commute with Corey.
Yes, I actually just got a call from Sarah. She said northbound Corden and Stafford now clear. That was an issue before. No issues there now. But the biggest issue, of course, all morning has been at that fire on Main Street. That is closed Main Street between Disraeli and Higgins. That's the Manwin Hotel. It's also closed eastbound and westbound Logan between King and Disraeli. So you want to avoid that area if you can. Northbound in particular is expected to be closed throughout the entire morning. Southbound, we heard, may open, but it's still at this point very much closed. And finally, got a call from James, who said eastbound William and Isabel, there was a collision there that's blocking the median lane. It's also eking a little bit into the westbound median lane as well. That's William at Isabel. And it's pretty backed up. He says also might have to do with the fire that's further down on Main Street, but you might want to just avoid that area as well if you can. Pretty slow going eastbound William in particular. If you do see anything going on, be like James, be like Sarah. Give me a call on the CBC commuter line if you're walking, biking, driving. If you want to update me on the river trail or anything else you're seeing, give me a call, 204-788-3093.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Well, next on CBC, competition is not new to our next guest.
For Ottawa. Finds Laroc. In comes Jocelyn Laroc. A move. Another move. She scores. How about that for your first as an Ottawa charge?
That was Manitoba's Jocelyn Laroc scoring her first goal with the Ottawa Charge of the 2025 PWHL Finals against the Minnesota Frost. Laroc's from St. Anne, Manitoba. Of course, she has won 2 gold medals and a silver with the Olympic team, and she was named to the hockey roster for the 2026 Milano Cortina team, the Olympic Winter Games. Those announcements came out Friday. The games are coming up soon, next month. This will be her 4th Winter Games, and she's made some time for us. She's on Zoom this morning. Congrats on being named to the team.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So where were you when you found out? Do you actually find out when we find out and watch this video, or do they call you ahead of time, give you a heads up?
The day before we found out, and I was in Ottawa.
Yeah. So what was the reaction from you and from your supporters and your family?
Just so much like joy and ecstatic. I was just incredibly honored to be, selected on that team. Actually, my dad was here visiting, so I told him to leave the room just in case and just to give me some privacy. But as soon as I found out, then we hugged. I called my partner, my sister, my rest of my family.
What does it mean to you at this stage of your career? I mean, obviously, even asking your dad to leave the room just in case would allude to the fact that maybe somewhere in your head you weren't sure you were going to make the roster for your fourth games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone would have assumed that they made the roster. And I think it's something that, I try to earn every day. And I don't just assume because I've been on the team that I'll make it. So I think that's the mentality that has helped me stay on the team.
Yeah. The team needs experience, especially this time around, though. How do you feel heading into the Olympics, given that your lead up against the Americans obviously didn't go as you'd hoped as they took the games off you guys?
No, I mean, it definitely didn't go as hoped, but it's something that we can learn and get better. And the biggest thing that we learned is that wasn't good enough. So we've been doing Zoom calls, trying to get better every day. And I think individually, bringing extra, but the one thing that it didn't do is that it didn't waver our confidence. We're going there expecting gold and playing for gold.
We have this little clip to play for you, Jocelyn. I love this because for people that missed this announcement on Friday, they're doing the team announcements in a really unique way. So just have a quick little listen here.
Jocelyn Laroc, St. Anne, Manitoba.
So you might be able to tell that little voice doesn't match Jocelyn's voice. That's because it's a little girl, a young female hockey player. They're in their Olympic uniform and they're announcing your name. Did you guys get to meet the kids that were going to say your names?
No, and actually we didn't even know that that's how they were going to announce it. I saw that that's how they did it for the men, so I was hoping that that's how they would do it for the women, and they did. And I think that probably would have been a pretty special moment for those 23 young female hockey players to put on the uniform and probably visualize themselves one day wearing that uniform.
Yeah. What would little Jocelyn think about your Olympic success?
Man, little Jocelyn would be so ecstatic. And it was a dream of mine once the first Olympics, the 98 Olympics where women's hockey participated for the first time. That's where my dream sparked. So if little Jocelyn knew that she was going to her fourth Olympics, she'd be just ecstatic, and hockey's always given me so much joy. So yeah, she'd be pretty excited.
How's the PWHL play going to help you guys?
Oh, I mean, I think and I've said this before, I think this Olympics will be the fastest paced Olympics ever because there's so many players that are playing at a high level every night. So it's just going to bring up the level of play, not only for Canada and US, but Czechia, there's I believe 7 or 8 athletes that are in the PWHL, and Finland, there's a handful as well, and Sweden as well. So it's just going to elevate.
You're talking about the experienced players like yourself and others in the PWHL as well. But this team has a kind of a core of an experienced group, but then there's a lot of younger players too. Some were even born in 2001, and even thinking about Katie Tabin, first Olympic Games from here in Winnipeg, really exciting. What do you hope to pass along to them about the mindset going into the Olympic Games versus, other competitions that, those that have never experienced this?
Yeah, I mean, those players know that the Olympics, it's its own beast for the sense of pressure. But at the end of the day, it is still just another game and another tournament. And you've prepared. The preparation doesn't start when we get there. So to assure those athletes that you're ready, and you're not just ready to make the team, you're ready to contribute and help us win. So all those first Olympians, they're ready to contribute. They're ready to make an impact on the team and not just happy to be there. So it's definitely on us veteran players to make them feel that, believe that, and know that.
What's it been like for you to see the interest in women's hockey skyrocket with the creation of the PWHL?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost surreal. I guess so late in my career, I almost have to remind myself that this is something that isn't just a one game off, we played in Winnipeg with the 2018 team and that was sold out. And I've been a part of sold out venues here and there, but the fact that it's night in, night out, it's amazing. And I just think of my younger self and so many of my teammates that I played with in the past, younger selves. And if they could have seen this, I wouldn't have been telling people when I was younger that I'd be playing in the NHL. I would have told them I'd be playing in the PWHL one day. So it's great that little girls can, say that and have that dream and see it possible.
Yeah. Are any of your supporters going to make it to Italy for the games?
Yeah, actually, my sister and her whole family, my dad and his partner, my partner, a couple of my extended family too. So it's tough to get tickets. So that's kind of the the thing that we're trying to do right now. But I have a lot of support, which I would not be here without them. So I'm happy that they can share it with me.
Well, we'll be cheering for you from here in Manitoba as we do our armchair analysis of the games from Winnipeg. Thank you very much, Jocelyn. Congrats on being named to Team Canada again.
Thank you so much.
That's Jocelyn Laroc with us live via Zoom, a three-time Olympic medalist from St. Anne, Manitoba. She will compete with the Canadian women's hockey team in the 2026 Milano Cortina Olympic Winter Games. Also, Katie Tabin named to the team from Winnipeg. It's her first games, or will be. Canada's first game is Thursday, February 5th. Puck drop, 2:10 Central Time. Remember that we have... obviously, that time difference to contend with. The always anticipated USA-Canada matchup, in case you're curious, is scheduled for February 10th.
Hi, I'm Saroja Coelho, host of the Saturday afternoon call-in show, Just Asking.
And I'm Ian Hannamansing, host of the Sunday afternoon call-in show, Cross Country Checkup.
Whether it's world events
or what's happening in your backyard,
every weekend we connect Canada live.
That's Just Asking with Saroja Coelho, Saturday afternoons at 4 Eastern.
And Cross Country Checkup with Ian Hannamansing, Sunday afternoons at 4 Eastern on CBC Radio 1.
Coming up on Information Radio after 8 o'clock, do you feel safe walking in your own neighborhood at night? That's a question we asked Winnipeggers. We're going to hear some of their reactions coming up, and it's a very interesting question as we look overall at Canada and whether or not it's become more dangerous. So do you feel safe walking in your neighborhood at night? Call us and weigh in before we hear more after 8. 204-788-3205. Well, speaking of safety in a different way, a Manitoba bus safety advocate, school bus safety advocate, is once again calling for kids to buckle up on school buses. This coming after a school bus rolled off the highway yesterday morning near Swan River. There were 14 students on board, as you've been hearing in the news. Multiple students were treated for injury. 4 of them airlifted to Winnipeg's HSC with serious injuries. The school division superintendent, Rob Tomlinson, saying counseling and other supports are being provided to students, staff, and family.
Well, like any parent, this is everyone's worst nightmare. That you don't want to hear that your kid's been in an accident, and these are our students. So as soon as we heard about it, we actually went to the scene to see what we could do to support.
That was Swan River School Division Superintendent Rob Tomlinson speaking with CBC's Gavin Axelrod. Now, RCMP say the school bus was attempting to pass another bus before it rolled. The road conditions were slippery at the time. The mother of one of the children on the bus also says she wants to see seatbelts on buses. Krista Kopape's 16-year-old daughter was injured in the crash yesterday, and as you may have heard in the news, she also spoke with Gavin Axelrod last night.
Going through a lot of emotions right now, but I'm really glad that she's okay, and she's got a long way to recovery, but she suffered 2 broken vertebrae in her back. She's got a sore hip at the moment, but the specialist did mention that she should recover within 3 weeks.
When you got to the scene, what was that like?
Very emotional. I really wanted to get to my daughter real fast.
What did it look like? What was kind of going through your head?
I was just thinking the worst as a parent, thinking that one of them was gone or if it was very serious, but I really just wanted to see my daughter and to know that she was safe. Well, I saw her at the scene first. She was sitting in the back of one of our counselors' truck. They were keeping her warm. She looked sore. She had her eyes closed, and she told me right away that her back was sore, her hip was sore, but she just grabbed me right away and she cried in my arms, and I cried too.
RCMP are investigating, obviously. What do you hope that their investigation can kind of uncover here? What kind of answers do you hope for as a parent here?
I'm not sure, actually. I just hope that they can try and get these buses safe. But I don't think any of these kids will want to get on a bus anymore. Some of them are all traumatized.
I was going to ask you, do you know I know a lot of school buses in Manitoba don't have seatbelts. I'm assuming there was no seatbelts on this bus?
No, there wasn't.
Is that something you'd maybe want to see in the future? I don't know. I know people have talked about it for a while.
Yeah, well, why they should have the seatbelts on buses. They're carrying precious cargo every time.
Krista Kopape's 16-year-old daughter was injured when a school bus rolled over near Swan River yesterday morning. She was speaking there with CBC's Gavin Axelrod. To be clear, we don't have any more specific details of all of the nature of the injuries or specifically how they occurred. Jody Ruda, though, is our next guest. Manitoba school bus driver from Beausejour. She thinks having seatbelts on board could help improve the safety of kids overall. She's been a longtime advocate for it. And good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for being here. I'm sorry for the circumstance. What did you think about when you first heard of this crash?
I think the first thing that came to my mind was what came to most people's minds, that my heart and my thoughts are with those children, families, staff, and community. But we know that thoughts and prayers can only get us so far. So the second thing that came to my mind is the frustration and anger that I have that we're still having this conversation. Transport Canada knew at least 16 years ago that compartmentalization does not protect inside impacts and rollovers, or as the Canadian Safety Council so callously said to you, quote, very niche type situations, end quote.
So Transport Canada does continue to say that the seats and interior of school buses are already designed to perform this protective compartment in case of collision that you alluded to. Why do you feel that doesn't work and that's wrong?
They have a study that they actually made internal in 2010 that says school buses do not have, that compartmentalization does not work for side impacts and rollovers. So that is why I think that is because they actually know that.
On their website, Transport Canada also says research has shown that lap belts could increase the risk of injury on school buses. They also say, quote, we recognize seatbelts on school buses can offer added protection for school-age children if they're used and installed properly. So could there be a concern of kids not being able to unbuckle quick enough?
So there's actually been studies done on that. The vast majority of children can unbuckle quickly. And in the pilot projects that we have seen here in Canada and some down in the States, it's shown that they can unbuckle as long as they're coached and the practice is done. It's not something that we're going to throw on the bus and immediately be poof, all the kids know how to do it. But the nice thing is that the buckles, specifically 3-point, because lap belts in this time are dangerous. There's a reason why we don't have them in personal vehicles anymore. But for those 3-point seatbelts, they look, feel, and act almost exactly the same way that the ones in your personal vehicle do. So most of these children have had access to clipping themselves in, unclipping themselves for years. Even a 3-year-old will be playing with the buckle way before the parents want them to.
Again, we don't have specific details of the nature of the injuries or how seatbelts might have helped or harmed in this specific case. But overall, how do you think belts could make a difference in a rollover situation?
I have seen a couple places reporting that children may have been ejected from the bus.
We don't have that verified. I just want to put that out there.
Oh, we don't have that verified?
Not through CBC, but
okay, not through CBC.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. That is 100% fair.
But overall in rollover situations.
And even in side impacts, we have seen in the past ejections from the bus. So a seatbelt would stop that ejection. We have had deaths in Canada because of ejections from school buses.
RCMP, we do know and have verified that they said road conditions were very slippery at the time. They say the school bus was attempting to make a pass of another bus before it rolled. For bus driver, what are some of the special challenges of navigating icy roads in that kind of a vehicle?
I drove yesterday morning, and I can say that the roads were horrible. Yesterday morning alone, the same person cut me off twice. I had right of way going 100 down a road or on a highway that was 100, and she from a stop sign pulled out right in front of me. I had to slam on my brakes, and I'm lucky that I didn't end up in the news yesterday. So I know as a bus driver out there that, and I don't want to speak specifically to what that bus driver did, that is going to be spoken about a lot. I know that as a bus driver in those conditions, we need to be driving to the conditions. But even if we drive to the conditions, other people around us can make mistakes because we're human, and those mistakes can cause death and injury. So it's very, very important for school bus drivers to be vigilant, especially on those days that we look at the road and we go, maybe we shouldn't be out here. Because I know a lot of questions are now being asked of if those buses should have been on the road yesterday.
And to be clear, when you're talking about being on the road yourself yesterday, were you in a school bus when that happened?
Yes, I was in a school bus when it happened. My dash cam is being pulled, and we are likely going to be sending that on to police.
Anything to add, Jody?
That's a good question. I do find it very interesting that we have to talk about, especially the last time that you spoke with the Canadian Safety Council, the meeting revolved around how to implement school seatbelts on school buses. I really find that it's important that we mention that there was more than just the pilot project's report that was written. The pilot project and the task force, they actually wrote a 14-page document called Guidelines for the Use of Seatbelts on School Buses. So they've actually created a plan already for us to implement it in provinces.
Well, we'll have to get some more information, and obviously we'll also hear more specifics about what happened on this particular bus as well. Always appreciate your experience and time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And again, and also sorry that it's this situation.
Jody Ruda, school bus driver and seatbelt advocate. The Canada Safety Council has previously said school buses already are very effective in keeping passengers safe. In December last year, it said over the past decade, there's only been one fatality and fewer than 2,000 injuries nationwide to children riding school buses. But as I said, more work to be done on this story for sure. With other stories, here's Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, a big fire at a vacant hotel on Main Street has evacuated the Main Street project, while people at the Salvation Army are being told to shelter in place. Both of those shelters are near the Manwin Hotel, and fire in that vacant hotel starting around 4 o'clock this morning has resulted in Main Street. We are now being told Main Street will be closed all day to all traffic between Higgins and Disraeli. East and westbound Logan is also closed between King and Disraeli. The Manwin, a 144-year-old building, is a total loss. And a 55-year-old man has been arrested for sexually exploiting a teen girl. We are just learning the details now. We'll bring those to you coming up at 8:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Cold out there, -20. We'll be at -14 for the day. In addition to traffic that Heather mentioned, William Isabel, northbound Stafford Corridor could also have problems for you. 788-3093 to update. Well, is Canada more dangerous? How safe do you feel walking in your Manitoba neighborhood at night? That's coming up after 8.
Today on Q.
Hey, I'm Talia Schlanger in for Tom Power. The Grammys are coming up and the Marias are up for Best New Artist. Front person Maria Zardoya will tell you how they went from knowing absolutely no one in the music industry 10 years ago to millions of streams, touring with Billie Eilish, and now being nominated for Best New Artist.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
Being a mountain guide in the Canadian Rockies has always been a risky job, but those doing it today say it's getting increasingly dangerous. We will hear from a guide about how melting glaciers are changing the well-worn paths they have known. It's coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Greenland's future will dominate discussions in Washington today. The foreign ministers of Greenland and Denmark will be sitting down with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. Donald Trump has threatened military action against the Danish territory. The U.S. president says acquiring the island is key to U.S. national security. The CBC's Willie Lowry joins me now from Washington. And Willie, what do we know about today's meeting?
So it comes after repeated attempts by Greenland and Denmark to secure a face-to-face with the Trump administration. President Donald Trump has been threatening to take over Greenland since before he even began his second term, but his rhetoric following the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has really ratcheted up in recent weeks.
We are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not.
On social media this morning, Trump doubled down, saying the U.S. needs the island for national security reasons. Comments like these have alarmed Danes and Greenlanders and really spurred them into action. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who, along with Vice President J.D. Vance, will lead the U.S. side during this meeting, floated buying the island, something both Greenland and Denmark have rejected.
What have we been hearing from officials in Greenland and Denmark?
They've been pretty clear. The island is not for sale, and even if it were, it would be up to Greenland, an autonomous territory, to decide its future, not the United States. Greenland's Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen was recently asked his stance if it comes down to a decision between the U.S. and Denmark.
Og hvis vi skal vælge mellem USA og Danmark her og nu, så vælger vi Danmark.
Nielsen saying if Greenland had to decide between the U.S. and Denmark, Greenland would choose Denmark there. Greenland and Denmark have presented a united front thus far, with Danish leaders saying a U.S. takeover of the island could mean the end of NATO and the rules-based order that has governed much of the world for the last 80 years.
Thank you, Willie.
My pleasure.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington. Whitehorse is preparing to host this year's Arctic Winter Games. The multi-sport competition will feature athletes from across the circumpolar region, including about 200 from Greenland. As George Maritos reports, the Games will go on despite growing tensions.
My first Games was 1974 when they were first hosted in Anchorage.
John Rada has a long history with the Games. Today he is president of the Arctic Winter Games International Committee. He says organizers are keeping the current Arctic geopolitical tensions at bay.
We work with political people, but we don't work in politics.
This isn't the first time international politics has cast a shadow on the Arctic Winter Games. After the invasion of Ukraine, the Russian delegation to the Games was suspended in 2022. That Russian suspension remains in place. But for the upcoming Whitehorse gathering, the Games continue as planned.
We're not going to cancel the Games.
Rada himself is American.
I have a daughter-in-law who is actually Danish. I have lots of friends around the circumpolar world. And at this point, again, our focus is the Games.
Claus Nielsen is the president of the Sports Confederation of Greenland. He says Greenland has no concerns about sending athletes and coaches to the Games, and they won't be withdrawing. The Arctic Winter Games begin in early March. George Moratis, CBC News, Whitehorse.
CBC News has learned the number of military aircraft Canada would need to buy for Saab to create new jobs in this country. The federal government is considering whether to buy new fighter jets and surveillance aircraft from the Swedish firm, or it could purchase all of its new fleet from Boeing, a U.S. company. As Danielle LeBlanc tells us, it would take a significant order of aircraft to bring new jobs to Canada.
You have a fantastic industrial base. It makes sense to do it in Canada.
This is the president of Saab, Michael Johansson, 2 months ago, promising to create 10,000 jobs to build aircraft in Canada. CBC News has learned new details about the Swedish firm's proposal. To obtain the promised jobs, the Canadian Armed Forces would need to make a major purchase for 72 Gripen fighter jets to replace Canada's CF-18s, as well as 6 GlobalEye aircraft that are packed with radars and surveillance equipment. Industry Minister Mélanie Joly confirmed the project is being studied in Ottawa.
It's a question of sovereignty. It's a question of security to be able to build at home.
She added Canada needs to protect itself from the trade tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump.
We're dealing with a very unpredictable Trump administration, and what we can control is whom we're giving contracts to and how we're creating jobs here at home.
An expert in military matters at the Université du Québec à Montréal, Justin Massy, cautioned Canada could struggle to integrate a new fleet of Gripen fighter jets, just as they start receiving 16 American-built F-35s this year.
What we need is a clear military rationale of why we need a mixed fleet. When can that happen? And that cannot happen while we're still transitioning towards the F-35. We can't double transition.
As Canada's military budget is ballooning, Prime Minister Mark Carney now has to decide whether Canada buys Gripen fighter jets and whether to cut back on its order of 88 F-35s. Daniel Leblanc, CBC News, Ottawa.
The U.S.-based group Human Rights Activists says more than 2,500 people have been killed in Iran. Skylar Thompson is the group's deputy director. She says this is the most deadly protest in Iran since the Islamic Revolution in 1979.
One death is too many deaths, but we have a really high number now.
She says Iranian authorities have arrested more than 16,000 people. Most of them are arbitrary detentions. Her group has also documented dozens of forced confessions.
They happen under coercion, and that coercion is often done with psychological and physical torture. Then later in a show trial, these confessions are used as justifications to sentence people to death.
There are reports a 26-year-old man who was arrested on Thursday will be executed today. His name is Erfan Soltani. He was arrested at a protest on the outskirts of Tehran before the internet blackout. At least 32 people are dead after a construction crane crashed onto a moving passenger train in Thailand. Salima Shivji has the latest.
Thick smoke billows up from the crushed train as emergency crews rush to put out the flames coming out of one car. The first rescuers on the scene standing on top of one of the mangled carriages, desperately calling out to see if there are any survivors inside. Beside the smoldering wreckage, dozens of injured passengers lie on the ground while their injuries are wrapped and bandaged. With ambulances full, many were delayed getting to nearby hospitals. The deadly accident happened at 9:30 in the morning northeast of Thailand's capital, Bangkok, when a crane carrying a large concrete block dropped it and fell on top of a moving train below. The collapse derailed and sliced the train, witnesses said. At least 6 of the nearly 80 injured passengers are in serious condition, and authorities expect the number of dead to rise. Thailand's transport minister has ordered a thorough and comprehensive investigation in a country that's no stranger to deadly construction accidents blamed on safety lapses. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
Climate monitoring groups say 2025 was a very hot year. It was the 3rd hottest year on record. As Anand Ram tells us, that is worrying for several reasons.
Maman, j'ai chaud, j'avais soif.
Khadi Kamara remembers how her son struggled in school during the hot months last year in Dakar, Senegal. But Kamara, a women's rights and climate campaigner, knows how much worse kids in rural communities had it. But imagine this child compared to the one in the village who has to walk kilometers under 45-degree heat. From Africa's Sahel region to Central Asia to right here in Canada, temperature records were broken. And new data from several climate organizations confirms last year was a scorcher. Carlo Buontempo is director of Europe's Copernicus Climate Change Service.
2025 is now one of the 3 warmest years on record. In particular, 2025 is the 3rd warmest, just by a fraction of a degree, 0.01 cooler than 2023.
Decimal points that still meant death and destruction around the world. Even nations used to the heat struggling.
And the one thing about the heat wave is we call them silent killer.
Fahad Saeed is a climate scientist with Climate Analytics, a think tank. Though 2025 wasn't the hottest year ever, its impacts are sometimes hidden.
People are being killed because of the heat wave. They die because of the heat wave, but they are not recorded. So we don't know what is the scale of the deaths.
And consider that last year had the cooling influence of the La Nina climate phenomenon. That's expected to go away soon, leaving 2026 as another hot one waiting to happen. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
That is World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Good cold morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for being with us. Exhaust fog out there and problems on Main Street. We'll hear in the news in a moment what's going on with a fire that is affecting traffic. on some of our major routes as well. So stay tuned for that. Also, this half hour on the program, how safe do you feel walking at night in your neighborhood? Is Canada more dangerous? Some say it feels like it. We're going to look at Manitobans' perceptions of crime, and we will ask that question about walking in your neighborhood at night. So stay tuned. That's coming up. Also coming up this half hour, AI, artificial intelligence. We went into a Winnipeg classroom, and we heard from some students about how they're using artificial intelligence in their work. So stay tuned. We're going to hear a special report from CBC's Alana Cole. In a moment, we're going to update what's going on out on Main. Stay tuned. So Heather Wells has those details. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning. Well, fire has destroyed a 144-year-old downtown hotel. The Manwin Hotel on Main Street has been vacant, but fire there started around 4 this morning and has reduced that building to rubble. The Main Street project nearby has been evacuated. Also in that area, the Salvation Army, where people have been told to shelter in place. Police tell us the Main Street, that area is going to be closed all day, entirely shut down between Higgins and Disraeli. Logan will also be closed all day. It is shut down between King and Disraeli. We do have Megan Ketchison, our CBC reporter, out there, and she's going to bring us the very latest coming up at 8:30. As well, the mother of a teen on a school bus that rolled on an icy highway yesterday is relieved her daughter will be okay. That bus was from Sapataway at Cree Nation when it crashed yesterday. There are now calls for seatbelts and more safety on school buses. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 8:30.
So that's a lot of folks affected, Heather. This just the fire in Manwin. We just got word of it just before 6 o'clock when we were going on the air this morning.
Yeah. It started around when I got to work. I could hear so many emergency vehicles just screaming down Portage Avenue, and and it's difficult for fire crews because it is so cold.
Yeah, and this is the second, I guess, historic hotel on Main, because the Sutherland also burnt to the ground. Yeah. I guess some 18 months ago. I may have my timeline slightly off, but so today, I guess, lots of interviews, including, we still need information about where people are going to spend the day now that you're verifying in our news department, with Salvation Army and with Main Street Project, people on the move.
Yeah, we have been told that it seems like the people from Main Street Project have been taken on a transit bus to the Freight House.
Okay. Thank you very much. I know you're busy. Heather Wells in our news department, very busy. As we've heard, Megan Ketchison's been on scene since early this morning. And yes, it's unfortunately not yesterday morning. Not that it's ever a good time for a fire, but yesterday at least it would have been mild. Abby's in with our temperatures right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a frigid one today. There was some sunshine in a lot of the regions with some snow and warmer air expected to move in from the west later tonight. Winnipeg right now, we're still around that minus 20, partly cloudy skies we have outside. We're going to see sunshine very soon. That should be around 8:22 sunrise for Winnipeg. That would warm things up to about a minus 14 later this afternoon. But for the wind chill this morning, it feels like minus 33, which means the risk of frostbite is real. Southern regions, we're looking at cold morning across board, minus 15s to minus 25s. That's what we're seeing. But sunshine will definitely help the highs get to about minus 2s and minus 12s in most of the regions before the flurries arrives tonight. While up north, we're seeing temperatures sitting between minus 15 and minus 32 this morning, with the wind chill close to minus 37. So across the province, it's more like a bright and frigid one. Sunshine on its way for most of the region. Winnipeg right now, minus 20, partly cloudy outside, and we'll warm up to minus 14 later.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey, earlier the sky was almost purple, and it was just really pretty, and now look how gorgeous it is.
There's this beautiful pink hue, up just kind of south of Portage here that we're looking out. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's lighting up the clouds, and then behind it, you can't make up that shade of baby blue, I tell you.
No, when it's cold and you get that sun, it's that's the upside of these cold days.
Yeah, these are the photos that we send Vancouver, by the way. All your friends in Vancouver that have this gorgeous province and weather all the time. We can
mountains.
say, look at this, though. Look
exactly.
at this. That's pretty fine.
Sky for days.
Okay, let's get into what's happening with the traffic situation.
Yes. So, of course, the biggest issue is, as Heather mentioned, on Main Street, closed northbound, southbound all day. Same thing also goes for Logan as well in that area. So between King and Disraeli. So just be you want to avoid that area if you can, really. Also got a call from James. Eastbound and westbound William at Isabel may still be an issue. There was a collision there earlier, mostly blocking that eastbound median lane on William, but a little bit of the westbound median lane too. So keep right to get around that if that still is in fact an issue, slow going. Other than that, though, been a pretty quiet commute besides those two major issues. But if you do see something else going on, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
Well, fewer Canadians, as I alluded to, feel safe when walking in their neighborhoods at night. That is coming from the Angus Reid Institute. Late last year, they asked 2,000 Canadians in an online survey if they feel safe walking in their neighborhood alone at night. 68% in the survey either agreed or strongly agreed that they felt safe, but that is down from 80% in 2015. We sent Sophia Peralta-Barone to ask Winnipeggers how they feel walking alone in their neighborhoods at night. And she started by speaking with Don McBain, who she met on a slushy sidewalk out in Wolseley.
Always. Yeah, summer, winter, doesn't matter. It's a great neighborhood.
And what makes you feel so safe in your neighborhood at night?
I guess there's a lot of community, there's a lot of people out and about, whether people walking their dogs, There's generally not empty streets. So the more people there are, the more connected people are. So yeah, I just feel very safe. Also, I'm 6'4" and an old guy, so that is an honest part. It might be, you might feel differently,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My name's Jessica Kraft. And Jessica, do you feel safe walking in your own neighborhood at night?
I do. I do feel safe in my neighborhood, yeah.
And what neighborhood would that be?
I live in St. Vital.
And what makes you feel so safe in your neighborhood?
Oh, I think we have a really good community, very good neighbors. I wouldn't say there's a problem with walking around in my neighborhood ever.
Is there ever a moment when you're in the city of Winnipeg where you may not feel so safe?
To be honest, no. I don't feel in danger here. I never do, no.
And where does that come from? Are you just a very confident person when you are walking by yourself at night? Or
I think it comes from personal awareness and awareness of your surroundings, always making sure that you have your phone on you if you have one, keeping aware of everything around you, and okay.
David Gallagher. I don't have a problem, no, I really don't.
And what neighborhood do you currently live in?
I live on Selkirk.
And what makes you feel safe when you're walking?
I just mind my own business. Keep my head down and that's it.
And has there ever been a moment where maybe you feel a little unsafe?
No. Nope.
And how long have you been living in this neighborhood?
A year.
Ellen Karlinsky.
Adrian Chalice.
I feel very safe in Wolseley. I do practice sort of common sense safety, so typically, I would walk in the neighborhood at night, but I'd be a little bit more cautious. Not that I have any fears in particular about our neighborhood, but just common sense.
And do you feel safe walking at night in your neighborhood?
Yes, I feel very safe, and I don't even kind of have to look over my shoulder, especially around here and in most of Wolseley. I suppose if I was walking through Vimy Ridge Park at night, I might glance over my shoulder, but it would never stop me from going through there at night.
And what makes you feel so safe in Wolseley?
Because there are people out and about all the time. We see people, like we were just commenting now on our walk, so many people are out walking. Typically, it's not, empty. There's always people out and about. People's lights, homes are lit up. There's also a lot of cars around, people walking their dogs. But I think probably because I'm a woman, I am more careful at night. But not because of this neighborhood, but any neighborhood. I would take extra care.
Peralta-Barone asking Winnipeggers if they feel safe walking alone in their neighborhoods at night, mostly concentrated on the Wolseley neighborhood. She was out with videographer Jason Empson. So where do you live in Winnipeg, and do you feel safe walking at night? 788-3205 is where you can reach us.
Fake ads, fake stores, and even fake mistakes. Not long ago in France, Bounty candy bars were switched with Snicker wrappers on purpose.
Hey, ¿cómo se va, man?
At Snickers, we're not us when we're hungry.
The world of marketing has discovered there's money in fake-vertising on Under the Influence with Terry O'Reilly. Thursday morning at 11:30, 3:30 p.m. in Newfoundland. And on demand on CBC Listen.
Minus 20 in Winnipeg. Today's high is minus 14. And let's get into an update on the traffic situation at 8:21 with Corey.
Just got a call from Mervyn on the commuter line. He said northbound St. Mary's at Eugenie, that's just a couple blocks south of the Norwood Hotel there. There's a collision that's blocking the entirety of northbound St. Mary's this morning. Police are on scene directing traffic. And people are being diverted away, so you want to actually, maybe avoid that intersection if you can. That's northbound St. Mary's at Eugenie. Also got a call from David, said southbound Henderson just before Disraeli, very, very slow going, probably because of that Main Street closure on the other side of Disraeli at the Manwin Hotel, where there's been a fire this morning as well.
So this is huge. So Main Street's closed both north and southbound between Disraeli, Higgins, Logan, east-west between King and Disraeli. Main Street project, if you're just plugging into the news, as you heard Heather reporting, Megan Ketchison's been on site as well. Main Street project, people have been evacuated. We at first had thought they'd gone to Freight House. We are not clear on that right now on where people have been taken. Also, Salvation Army folks have been evacuated from there, we understand. So we're going to get the very latest in the news at 8:30, so stay with us. We do know, though, that the Manwin Hotel has been lost. So this is a historic hotel in Winnipeg. Early morning fire took it out. This is the second hotel, probably more than the second hotel, but in recent years that we've lost because the Sutherland burned to the ground as well, you might recall. The Manwin, according to the Manitoba Historical Society archive pages, has been called a number of things over the years. Walker House, Britannia Hotel, Windsor Hotel, Maple Leaf Hotel, National Hotel, and then most recently, the Manwin. It opened in the 1890s. It was renamed. I believe the date it actually opened, though, 1882. And so it had recently been shuttered. People had not been living there. You might recall news stories about that. But this is very much a historic hotel in Winnipeg. Lots of old black and white photos through the archives. So through the day, we're going to learn more about the impact on the people and the fire, of course, and the displacement. But then, of course, there's going to be some history to learn as well about what's been lost to the fire today. Heather Wells will have the very latest on the news situation with Megan Ketchison at 8:30. So stay with us right here on CBC. And as Corey's mentioning, just be careful out there. Lots of things going on in traffic, and call him with updates, please. 788-3093. Well, next on the show, ask kids about artificial intelligence, and they have probably heard of it, used it, might already have opinions about AI. But how's it being used in the classroom? CBC's Alana Cole has a special report today. She takes us inside one Winnipeg school to find out.
Click here, our process.
At General Wolfe School in Winnipeg, it's a different kind of assignment for this group of grade 8 and 9 students.
Do you want to show me a little bit about how you might use AI? Yeah, sure.
Okay. That's right, teaching me how artificial intelligence fits into assignments. Chual Money Bunny used it to learn about cardiac surgeons.
I saw the list of what it was saying, and then after I went to the trustable sources and see if it lined up.
Denis Karachihov's first language, Ukrainian. AI's helping him learn English.
The words I didn't know in English, but I know in my first language, that would I will search in AI to help me with.
And he shows us how it helps with complicated words.
She's incorporating AI into the project, but the research was hers and the thought was hers.
In a world where artificial intelligence is at our fingertips, teacher Donovan Ponce says we can't ignore it. He's a grade 7 STEM and project-based learning teacher.
We're in the age of information, but we're in the age of misinformation as well, right? There's so many things that students can see on their social media feeds that I want them to question the validity of it. So I think there's so much AI-generated content online that we need to teach students how to discern from real and fake information.
His approach, in part, showing students how to use AI responsibly, checking information with credible sources, and learning how to paraphrase or put information into their own words. lessons the students, including Mary Wah and Hadgu Tesfazgi, are paying attention to.
I've used AI for some research, but I don't straight up copy. I use it as a starting point to get to the question I want.
So I essentially just saw AI, and each answer it gave me, I knew it had different sources, so I checked each sources to see if it was reliable.
Shamira Salazar's thinking about what's ahead too.
Do you ever have any worries about it?
How it's gonna be in the future, because the difference between last year and this year, last year you could tell the difference between AI and non-AI, but this year it's becoming more realistic, and some people don't can't tell the difference between AI and non-AI.
The Winnipeg School Division doesn't have specific policies on AI, but has a framework and says now staff and teachers are examining what that looks like in the classroom. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
CBC's Alana Cole, as you heard, at General Wolfe School with a special report on artificial intelligence in class. By the way, just because I said this on the air and I was grasping for the date of when that Sutherland fire happened, the Sutherland Hotel on Main Street, Megan Ketcherson looked it up for me. Thanks, Meeks. It was actually nearly a year ago to the date here when we're watching the Manwin burn down, but January 16th, 2025. Is when we lost the Sutherland. So as I mentioned, more in the news on what's happening on the Manwin and what happened in that fire today. That is very much still in progress, affecting traffic all around Main Street and Disraeli. And so 788-3093 if you have any new updates. Across the city, there's a couple of traffic issues, as Corey continues to remind us. So update us even though we're late here in the show and late in the drive. Next, we do have a little bit of music that is going to remind us what season we're in. The cold returns today. This is Winnipeg-based songwriter and producer Danny Lutz, stepping out of the recording studio with brand new music just out this week. On 89.3 FM, this is Winter from Danny Lutz.
Why you gotta be so cold? Why you gotta be so cold? Why you gotta be so cold? Why you gotta ice me out? Why you gotta ice me out? Why you gotta ice me out? Why you gotta get so dark? Why you gotta get so dark? I can hardly see. I hear your cold wind bark, your cold wind bark through the lifeless trees. I thought the last time was the last time, but here we are again, here we are again. Winter, I could go without you, but I doubt you'd ever leave me alone. I would gladly leave you, but I don't believe you when you say that you go. Must I simply surrender, embracing the splendor of surviving the cold? And how to endure this, I'm not so sure this is right. Why's it gotta feel so long? Why's it gotta be so long? Why's it gotta last so long? Why you gotta hold me down? Why you trying to make me drown? Why you so damn strong? Why you gotta shut me in? Why you gotta shut me out? Why you keeping me sealed? I hear your cold wind bark, I hear your cold wind bark through the empty fields. I thought the last time was the last time, but here we are again, here we are again. Winter, I could go without you, but I doubt you'd ever leave me alone.
Our crew is dying of laughter because this is so relatable. Only a Manitoban could write this tune and really understand it. I thought the last time was the last time. Why you gotta be so dark? Why you gotta be so cold? Lyrics from Danny Lutz. That is new music from him. It is Winter. Next, your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it is cold. It's minus 20 right now in downtown Winnipeg. We have lots of sunshine, though, today, and a high of minus 14. An early morning fire has destroyed a 144-year-old downtown Winnipeg hotel. The Manwin Hotel has been burning since 4 this morning, shutting down streets and evacuating a nearby shelter. CBC reporter Megan Ketchison is there and joins us. Megan?
Well, smoke is absolutely billowing from the site where the Manwin Hotel was. You can see it's just a twisted wreck, and it's iced over as well after fire crews have been pouring water on this fire for hours. I was speaking with Platoon Chief Steve Kumka, and he says they got the call about 4 o'clock this morning. They got to the building. There was smoke, there were flames, and they couldn't go inside to fight the fire, so they had to do it from the outside. And he says it's destroyed.
It's a total loss. This building will be torn down, demolished once we get the fire out.
Now, this is right next door to the Main Street project and a couple of doors down from the Salvation Army shelter. The people that were staying in the Main Street project, they were evacuated and taken to another safe site, and the Salvation Army people there were told to shelter in place. This area is going to be shut down for quite some time. There is still smoke pouring from the building, and so it may be some time before Main Street is reopened while they fight that fire. It is now closed from Higgins all the way up to Disraeli. Reporting live, Megan Ketchison, CBC News.
Thanks so much, Megan, for bringing us the latest. And you can see all the photos of this fire and the latest information. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba. The mother of a teen injured in yesterday's bus rollover is relieved it wasn't worse. The bus was from Sapataway at Cree Nation and crashed in the Swan River area. Krita Kopapay's 16-year-old daughter sustained injuries to 2 vertebrae that are expected to heal without surgery. Kopapay says it was hard and an emotional day as families waited to learn how their loved ones were.
I was just thinking the worst as a parent, thinking that one of them was gone or if it was very serious, but I really just wanted to see my daughter and to know that she was safe.
RCMP say they believe the driver of a school bus lost control while trying to pass another bus in icy conditions on Highway 10. Kopapay hopes the incident sparks conversations about what can be done to make school buses safer. A man has been arrested for sexually exploiting a teenage girl. Winnipeg police say it happened between February and December of 2025. Police began investigating early this month. That investigation found the teen had been provided drugs and alcohol and was sexually assaulted multiple times in the man's residence. She was assaulted and choked on several occasions and once suffered a potentially fatal overdose. A 55-year-old man was arrested at his residence and is now in custody. Prime Minister Mark Carney has arrived in Beijing today for 4 days of senior-level talks on trade and security. Carney's visit comes as Canada and China try to move past years of diplomatic tension, and Canadian canola farmers are among those hoping for a breakthrough. The Canadian Canola Growers Association says Beijing's steep tariffs on the prairie crop will cost producers at least $2 billion this year. Carney is joined on this trip by Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe, whose province is responsible for more than half of Canada's canola production. Well, ask children about artificial intelligence. They've probably heard of it, used, and might already have an opinion on it. Now the Winnipeg School Division is working on adapting to new technology. Superintendent Matt Henderson says while they're not ready to implement specific policies around AI, they have developed a thinking framework.
To be able to say, when I'm using artificial intelligence, am I taking into all sorts of things into consideration? And then moving from there, when I'm teaching, am I teaching children about artificial intelligence, what drives it, what the ramifications are, who benefits.
Henderson says the school division worked with senior administration, teachers, and families developing this framework. Staff now and teachers will examine what it looks like in the classroom. You can find more news and the latest on this fire on Main Street and the street closures there. Just head to our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thanks to our news department this morning. Heather Welsonby can catch us in doing really great work since early this morning on the Manwin, as well as Joni Nicolo here at CBC. Corey Funk, Abby Adiemi, Darren Marash, our Studio 15 crew, our producers, Nellie Gonzalez and Leif Larson, our associate producer, Sophia Peralta Barone and Sierra Sanders, as well as reporters Jim Agapito, Alana Cole, and community reporter Shanley Vidal. Thanks, everyone, for your work today. Last quick look at traffic, Corey?
Northbound St. Mary's at Eugenie, we heard that it is completely blocked right now by a collision. Police are on scene directing traffic. You want to avoid that area if you can. And, of course, northbound, southbound Main Street expected to be closed all day between Higgins and Disraeli.
You're hosting Radio Noon again. Do you guys know what your call-in is yet?
Yeah, we're talking about health cards. Those digital health cards came live. People are able to sign up for that. We want to hear from you, the difference you think that'll make for you. Have you tried to sign up? What's been your experience? We've heard mixed anecdotes so far, so we want to hear from you. We're opening up the phone lines after 12:30.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And Abby, last word on the day.
Yeah, frigid but sunny start for most of the regions before those snowy conditions and warmer air begin to move in from the west later tonight. The south, we're still seeing temperatures between -17 and -25. Sunny skies already outside. Most regions will see highs between -9 and -14. Winnipeg right now, we are at -19, -20, depending on where you are. We get to -14 later, but the wind chill,
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thank you, Abby. Take care. Be well, Manitoba. Thank you for listening to Information Radio this morning. We'll, of course, have more on that Manwin fire throughout the day and on other stories as they develop here in Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is CBC's Information Radio, your morning show. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. Talk to you tomorrow.